Are we doing something different with this tonight?
Yeah, I think they're gonna,
Or is it because of these?
yeah, it's the whole part of the whole thing. It's kind of, it's not quite a maiden voyage. They had one for,
Yeah, I worked for the planning commission.
But-
It worked okay. Better than she wrote, I thought.
it was bouncing around
Yeah,
a
with the
little bit,
camera.
so we gotta talk about
The
that.
mic thing went okay.
Yeah. Okay, everyone. If I can have everybody's attention, it is 6:30. It is June 8th, 2026, and I'd like to call the board meeting to order.
Reyes here.
Got to push the button. Jones here.
Smith here.
Church here.
All right. Before we jump into the pledge, I just want to talk about the new system. We have our new audio-visual system in. The sound should be better in the room. I think it is, at least what I've played with in the last half hour. The issue is for the board and even for the public is we can't be talking all over each other. We do have a camera up here that kind of follows the voice. So we just have to be a little more disciplined in how we communicate. So if I stop somebody and say, second, then at least you know what I'm talking about, all right? So,
If I may add to that,
oh, go ahead.
Push your button.
Push your button.
when we have outside groups using the boardroom for a meeting, do not move the microphones. Don't twist them, don't crank them, don't do anything with them, because the wires will eventually break and they're pretty pricey.
We already had that happen once, so that's why she's bringing it up. So let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You'll have to remember to do that also when you go up with public comments.
Yeah, you have to push the button for the mic to pick you up. Certification of compliance of open meeting law?
Yes.
All right. So now we're at the approval of the meeting agenda. Any comments on the, okay, Supervisor Church.
I move to table 8B under unfinished business until the Town of East Roy's Park Committee has appropriate time to respond to this item at the town's park committee level before it is discussed at the town board level.
Is it 9?
9B, sorry.
I'll second for just. Second?
For discussion?
Yeah.
I guess we can discuss this or add, is there any other comments on the agenda?
I have one comment. I don't know if it needs to be motioned or anything, but I've got an item under unfinished business as well for Lake Lane. And I spoke to Kathy Schultz with PLPRD. I think it'd be appropriate to allow Kathy, if she's present, to speak during that agenda item prior to our board discussion, rather than relegating any input or comments she may have to public comment.
Okay.
And I see Kathy is present.
She is there. So we'll have to take those two separately, probably.
Okay,
we'll
so
do that
I'll hold
sep-
that.
Yeah. Anything else for the agenda?
Um,
know if we wanted to maybe pull out the DPW report for a little discussion on what's happening. I know there were comments about the paving and the culvert.
Yeah, I had that one flagged too, but I didn't know, do we do that all right now? I just as a point, in terms of
Well-
process, consent, and overall agenda? Do we
It
do-
probably should be
I think we have to move it out of the consent agenda,
You have to
right?
move it out of the consent, I suppose, before we get to that. Yeah.
Just a point of order, I can tell you that Superintendent Shield is not here this evening, so there may not be any input by him.
Okay. I thought that might be the case, but I think it's still, I think we'd still pull it and discuss it as a board. So I'd agree with that.
Okay, so we have 2 items then. Is that everything?
No, I have one more. I'd like the park committee, I have an additional comment to add to that.
So you want it pulled out?
Yes, please.
So I'll make a motion to pull out 5D, Department of Public Works, and H, the Park Committee, from the consent agenda.
9B, and then the 5,
Oh, I thought we already.
5H.
It's still on the table.
Still on the
Still on
table.
the table.
So, yeah, I mean, all I'm trying to do is get a report on the 60-acre project, and it's,
Again, I would like to table that until the park committee has had a chance to respond to that.
so I would just like a date when we're going to hear something about it, that's all. Because we've been waiting to,
I am an individual on the park committee. This needs to be discussed at the park committee so that the 2 people who are on the park committee can determine that.
this is a motion to ask for a report to be provided. So I'm not quite sure how this,
There's a motion pending just to pull out 2 items from the consent agenda.
so do you want to approve just 2 items and then discuss this?
I think that has to be a separate motion.
Okay. So we have a second on the 2 items, D and H, coming out of the consent agenda. Do we have a second on that?
I don't, did,
However, we actually have a motion on the table that was
9B's on the table.
motion by Barb Church, seconded by Ben Smith.
Yeah, 9.
That motion's on
So
the
if we're
table,
gonna,
so you need to
we're
vote
gonna
on
treat
that
them
before.
separate. We're gonna treat them separate? Okay. So let's deal with the 9B first then. All this is a request to have a report submitted by the Parks Committee, so it's asking the Parks Committee officially to do something, that's all. It's not asking for.
I'm asking for that to be tabled until the park committee has appropriate time to respond.
This is just asking for you to respond, so I'm not sure.
at the next board meeting,
At the next board meeting.
is
So
what
you're
it
saying-
says.
I'm asking for appropriate time to respond. I do not know if one meeting is enough for us to respond to it. I have to bring it to the park committee in order for that decision to be made.
I think we could pull, not to get ahead of the consent agenda, I think we could pull the park committee report from the consent agenda, and incorporate any discussion or informal requests into that item.
Okay.
This is not it.
So we have a first and a second to remove 9B from the agenda. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Opposed? What?
Okay.
Is your motion?
It was your motion. right?
Okay.
I'm asking for it to be removed. I thought you.
That's what we're doing.
Right.
That's what we're
Right.
doing.
Okay, aye. Sorry, confused.
Okay, so-
Long day.
Okay, and then nays, nay.
Nay.
So that's 3-2, I guess. Is that what I'm counting? Mm-hmm. Okay. Then we have the 2 for the consent agenda for D and H. You had a motion?
Correct.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
And then did we need to formalize
Yeah,
this, Kathy Schultz speaking on 9A?
We should.
all right, so I'll make that motion, allow Kathy to represent PLPRD and give a statement prior to item 9A.
Okay.
I'll
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so we'll let Kathy speak at that point. So now we go to the consent agenda. We've already pulled out D and H.
Oh,
Motion
I'll
to
make-
approve.
yeah, I'll make a motion to
Oh.
approve the agenda as amended.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. So now we're on to the consent agenda. With D and H removed, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with sections D and H removed.
I'll second.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. So we didn't say when we're going to discuss those items, so we'll discuss those during the committee report at 8, on item 8 on the agenda, the report of departments. Okay, sound good?
Like after 8B.
Yeah. All right, now we have the clerk's report, clerk treasurer's report.
So all of the board members, you have a treasurer's report in front of you. I just want to make note, the boat launch to date is we've collected more than that, but we have to pay sales tax on that. So that is the net that we received so far. Okay? Some of the accounts are a little bit lower. We had an unexpected bill come that came sooner than we expected from the East Troy Emergency Services District for $904,784.38. A large part of that was the ladder truck, the command vehicle, and then the EMS Stryker vehicle was a large amount, but then there was a big grant that was applied to it. So it brought it down from 37.8 to 13. So that was a nice grant as a piece of that. I did not renew the landfill certificate of deposit because interest rates are quite low for that right now, and I wanted to have that cash flow until we take out the 2026 loan. We also have a couple of larger bills coming up. We've got another bill from the Emergency Services District for $68,000, and then a bill for the Beulah Heights Culvert of $27,000 as a coming up. So this will be published in the packet for everyone to see. It'll be in additional documents so that everyone has access to it. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. Any questions from the board?
Jean, you mentioned boat launch dollars. Is that listed here? or-
Yep, it's at the very bottom, Ben.
It's the very last item. Got it. Okay, and then the CD that you didn't renew, where does that sit now? Is it in an interest-bearing account?
Yep.
of some sort?
It is in an interest-bearing account.
Okay.
So we should approve the treasurer's report.
So I had a question on that. So I don't know, I don't recall if we had discussion on this in the past, but I don't know if we're required by law to approve the treasurer's report, but I mean, we're definitely receiving it. We just got it, it's presented to us live here. I don't know, to me, it's not really appropriate to approve it. We're receiving it.
You are technically correct. We've had this discussion before in the past. Historically, we've always approved it.
Yeah.
So
So I think it's a little bit of a technicality, but, but if we're to say approve it, we're reviewing this in detail. I think it means something different. So maybe we're approving receipt of the treasurer's report.
you're approving the report itself, not necessarily the contents, I suppose.
Okay,
The fact that you did one.
The generation.
yeah, all right, that makes sense.
So do I have a motion to approve her report?
I'll make a motion that we approve the Town of East Troy Treasurer's Report for the month of May as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So now we're to the public comments section. let me read our statement. Please be advised that per state statute 19.84 sub 2, information may be received from the public. Comments are limited to a 4-minute period per person. Be further advised that there will be no discussion on the information received and no action will be taken regarding public comments. Upon conclusion of this citizen participation segment, members of the audience are not allowed further comment unless they are participating in a public hearing or if specifically allowed by a majority vote of the town board due to involvement in a specific agenda item. One other thing is you will have to press the microphone button when you're speaking up there in order for it to be recorded and for the rest of the room to hear your comments. So with that, do we have someone for public comments?
Good evening. My name is Alex Treptoski, 250 East Wisconsin. As the board knows, I represent the owner of the Lindy's property, which finds itself on the agenda twice today. I'd like to start by thanking the board for its prompt action to move forward on the resolution of the road right-of-way issue that I raised at the last board meeting. I was very appreciative of the speed with which the board handled that following my complaint, and then the speed with which Attorney Mills helped us get the language that's before you today. So I would express an desire that the board approve that agreement. I think it reflects what was discussed, and I think it helps move development forward on that property. I think everyone has a desire for something to happen there. It's not like my client is happy with the current state either. Along with that, though, then I'd have to express some concerns over the 10M item relating to the citizen concerns received by Supervisor Church. I recognize that the building is not in the best shape. I think everyone with eyes can see that. But we're trying to reach a resolution here where something's developed that can be a boon to the area and bring some tax revenue from what's right now a pretty vacant property. Our development of that property has been sort of repeatedly stopped by various hurdles that ended up not being much of anything in the end, but have stopped us. For instance, I think many of you are familiar with the hotel that was proposed previously on the property. Legal action by the Lake Management District managed to delay that so far that the partners on that project weren't willing to go forward after it was done, despite the CUP eventually being granted. Again, I'm just worried that raising the property as suggested by the letter writer really jeopardizes the ability to quickly develop the property. We've received several approaches of people interested in the property and interested in beginning development once the road right-of-way issue is resolved, which hopefully it will be later today. But if we sacrifice the setbacks by raising the building, it drastically changes the development potential of the property, valuation of the property, and would probably reset those to square one. So I would really ask this board to not take any precipitous action regarding the building as sort of described in the letter, which would compromise those setbacks. I think we can really get the ball rolling now if this board was to approve the resolution as it stands and resolve the right-of-way issue, which again was not of our creation, but came up in the last round of development stuff. So I would just ask the board to take that into account, and hopefully we can get an actual resolution. And we really have had some interest, so we want to keep it moving forward. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Rochelle Barrett at N9409 East Shore Road in McQuantico. I have 3 points. Number one, how many people order from Amazon? how many people's recycle is always filled. So we'd like the board to look at the recycle bins pickup and see if they can add additional pickup for recycle and not just garbage. Second, on East Shore Road where we are, there's been quite a bit of speeding. And we're looking at maybe putting the yellow line in that they do every once in a while, and maybe putting that on the repave agenda for the future. And then thirdly, we appreciate the increase of the police presence on Lake Beulah. We appreciate the QR code that you can report from the citizens. We just are looking to see how that is going to be transmitted to the public of how many people they've stopped, ticketed, and so forth. Is it going to be listed on the court state report? Thanks so much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Dipna Purvis. Address is N9005 East Miramar Drive. Could you repeat your name, please? The first name is Dipna, D-Y-M-P-N-A, Dipna Purvis. I've owned my property on Potter's Lake since 1988, and I've never heard of any problems with the use of that Lake Lane lot during all of that time.
You get closer to the microphone.
Oh,
It's really
sorry.
hard to hear you.
That's probably my
You-
voice.
You have to, yeah, you have to push the
Push
button.
it, okay, how's that?
Loud.
Okay, so, to repeat, I've owned my property since 1988, and all that time, I've never heard of any problems with the Lake Lane lot and the harvester, and I don't understand why it's become an issue now all of a sudden. But I do think the existing arrangement between the town and the lake has been beneficial to both parties. So therefore, I urge the board to finalize the current agreement and don't waste any more time with future discussions. Thank you.
All right, anyone else? Thank you.
Bob Rice, W884 Shorewood
Turn it
Drive.
on.
Yep.
How's that? My voice carries.
You're good now.
In the middle.
It's on.
I think you got to keep your finger. Oh, okay.
The green light's on. We're good?
If the yellow light's on, you're golden.
Everyone can hear me? I just want to make a comment on unfinished business on 9A, the use of Lake Lane by the Potters Lake Management District. I know, and it even says on the agenda, amend or replace the existing agreement. You guys are aware that there was an existing agreement with the town for the management district to use that lane. As far as safety and efficiency, it's huge. We do have 2 drop sites, one on each end of the lake. If that harvester has to go from end to end, it really restricts the amount of acreage that we can harvest. Costs us more in labor. And the other thing too, it says pursue a rezone. How do you rezone a road? It's not a tax parcel, it's a road. And roads go through different zoning districts. So I'm not even sure how you'd go about rezoning a road. The next item is 10C under new business. Discussing possible action authorizing Attorney Mills to draft an ordinance requiring pier owners on all Town of East Troy piers, Army, Beulah, and Potters to display their address at the end of the pier. I have no problem with house numbers, but when you start adding the full street address to that, you're looking at street signs at the end of every pier, and it says it also must be reflective. If you're gonna require numbers and street names at the end of every pier, just like we have at the end of our road, from the town provided street signs and address signs, I think the town should pick up the cost for all those lakefront owners for signage.
Thank you. Anybody else?
The green light's on, can you hear me? Rich Faust, N9349, Woodfield Court. I want to bring up the appointment to the fire district. I think it's a conflict of interest to have an active firefighter appointed to the board. The chain of command on the fire service, the chief's at the top, and it goes down assistant chief, deputy chief, captain, lieutenant, firefighter. Now, if we put an active firefighter on the board, he's got to make decisions, personnel decisions, disciplinary decisions with the board, maybe decisions against the chief. That's going to create a lot of animosity in the firehouse and on the fire ground. I think that, I don't know if it's done before, it may have been, but maybe that's something that needs to be looked at where they don't allow an active member to be on the board. Because if you got to deal with a personnel problem, now you got that active member, riding next to the person in an engine, going down the street, and this person may be mad at the person on the board. So I think it's not a good idea. It's definitely a conflict of interest. The second thing I'll bring up real quick is a wake boat issue. Everybody's got to remember this is just an advisory. It's just a test run. It's not an ordinance. It's an idea. If we can maybe, get a zone and maybe, people stick by some of it. Maybe they don't, but at least they got an idea where to go. I went to BRB's website today to look at their map. They don't have a website. I mean, you guys have pushed the map, the 300 foot and 20, but I've never seen the map besides here. I wouldn't know how to get the map. If I came from off the lake and you were pushing the 320, who gives me the map? And it's a zone. You got your zone. You got your ideas. I think it's not a good zone by trying to push from dockside through that pinch point by the second horn. That you may want to take that out, make a couple different zones if you want to do this. But I think to try to be in 320 everywhere, I don't think that'll work really well. And the last thing real quick is, I think in the last meeting, you guys talked about the repaving of St. Peter's Road, and you were going to use that company in Miramar. Was that right? Or somebody needs to go look at St. Peter's Road? Oh, has that been brought up? The St. Peter's Road is in rough shape. For 1 year, not even a year, it's not looking good. I just wanted to bring that up.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Yes,
Bonnie
ma'am.
Morath, N8465 Town Line Road. I'm here to speak about item 10B, the wake surf issue. I think it's a great step for you guys to consider enacting something. I have been the diver that's been under the water, under the boats. I've seen the damage in the bottom of the lake and the damage it does to the lake beds. I think it's really important that this item bring high consideration from you, and I hope that you will support it. And going forward, I hope that something gets enacted that is healthier for the lake and for the rest of the users of the lake.
Thank you. It's hard to take notes fast enough. Go ahead.
Tom Bannon Bogard, W2035 Beulah Heights Road. I'm talking on the same topic. There's been a coalition that's formed in the state of Wisconsin on this topic. Over 100 member organizations representing 75,000 members are all in support of doing something to protect our lakes against wake surfing and the data that supports that there's damage being done. The National Wildlife Federation, the American Fisheries Society, the National Wildlife Federation, the Sierra Club, which are all the same organizations that protect our national parks and the wildlife in our national parks. They are all foreseeing some kind of restrictions as it relates to wake surfing, as well as the Alliance for Great Lakes. And these groups collectively represent over 1 million members of scientists, anglers, and conservationists. But even more importantly, we need to remember to listen to our own community and what our community members want. 5 times now there has been some kind of vote where there's been a 70-30 split, where 70% of those that were polled wanted to see some sort of restrictions on wake surfing. The management district has studied this topic. They've done studies, and they brought a recommendation to you that I think is valid, and it's even less strict than what the coalition is recommending. They recommend 700 feet from shore and 30 feet depth of water. And I think what is being proposed tonight is a way to see if we can work out a way that we can continue to do some level of wake surfing on the lake, but most importantly, protect Lake Beulah. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm here tonight speaking on agenda item 10. Ken Zess, West 598 Bell School Road. Agenda item 10D. It is on. It's on, yeah. I'm here tonight to express my strong support for ensuring that Jim Burns Memorial Park meets and maintains the accessibility standards established by the Americans with Disabilities Act. Public parks are important community spaces that should be accessible to all residents and visitors regardless of physical ability. ADA-compliant facilities help ensure individuals with disabilities, older adults, veterans, and families with mobility challenges can safely and independently enjoy recreational opportunities alongside other members of the community. Accessibility features such as paved and accessible pathways, compliant parking spaces, accessible restrooms, playground equipment designed for inclusive use, appropriate signage, and barrier-free access to park amenities are essential components of a welcoming public environment. These improvements not only fulfill legal obligations, but also demonstrate our community's commitment to equity, inclusion, and public service. Investing in ADA-compliant infrastructure benefits everyone by creating safer, more usable spaces for people of all ages and abilities. Accessible parks encourage community participation, improve public health outcomes, and foster a stronger sense of belonging among residents. I respectfully encourage the implementation of ADA standards at Jim Burns Memorial Park. Thank you for your dedication to serving all members of our community and for considering accessibility as a priority in current and future park and facility planning efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh. Sherry, I think you were next.
Press the button first, or?
As long as it's green.
John Becker, W1958, Pastime Lane, East Troy. There's been frustration, I think, in the past year, and maybe longer than that, with the electors. Frustrations for a number of different things, but it keeps on rolling along, and I'm not sure it's getting better. Let me give you some examples of frustration that hurts our system. One, long meetings. When we have long meetings, people get tired, they become less effective, and they want to go home. Topics get drawn out and continued. Just tonight, you heard a lot of things that are continued. They're not addressed at the time. I know it's not easy, but it is frustrating for these people, electors. Take a look at the packet that comes with the meeting and the size of it. It's almost always over 100 pages now. That's a lot to comprehend, and you just get tired going through the whole thing, so maybe you don't touch it at all. There's polarization of the parties. We see that, probably see some of it tonight. And sometimes people come here with their mind made up and don't listen. But I believe that this is increasing with the electors. They're getting more frustrated. And I think the big example is the wake boat situation. If you look at it about a year ago, there was a vote on it by the town, and the vote was overwhelmingly to not check it, but to control it. And then about a year ago, a little bit more, a little bit less, the management district had an election. They had 2 seats open. The candidates were either like Beulah or management district candidates or RBR. And the final vote came about 3-1 in favor of the Beulah personnel who were in favor of curtailing wakeboarding and controlling wakeboarding. And so that the electors didn't see anything happen there. This last election was a very important election. You may say it's between the candidates, but in a way, it's wakeboarding. It's what they represent and what went through. So that happened. And I think it's something we have to watch out for because it's getting a little more serious as time goes on. The other thing that is frustrating to the management district is that we were encouraged to do work on the Lake Beulah, and not rely on outside information or anything like that, but do the actual testing ourselves. And we did, at much expense. There's personal expense and there's expense to the management district. I don't think the board used the data. We presented it. It's very good data. I think it's probably some of the best in the whole country. And the board turned to other data outside of Lake Beulah. And here we were encouraged to go that path. So I think there's this frustration here. I hope with the new board now and the members there and the makeup of it, and maybe lessons learned in the past, we can go forward and have reasonable restrictions so we all can enjoy the lake. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Sherry Reilly, N9481 Island Drive. I'm just going to real briefly piggyback on what Tom and John both said. Same faces come most of these meetings and speak, and of course I'm talking today about the wakeboat issue, but the more that I come to these meetings, the more that I become aware, and I am a area chair for Protect Lake Beulah, the more that I get out and talk to people, the more that I'm becoming aware. My role here is not always to complain, but to give additional information. And we all in this room are advocates of the lake. There's no question about that. But 2 weeks ago, Tom helped put on South Wisconsin Lakes Conference. And I just wanted to read you some agenda items. And it's trends to lakes due to weather viability, water monitoring, natural shorelines, managing fisheries, habitat, plant and animal life, big data centers. Yes, Wake Enhanced Recreational Update was taking place at this event. And what was really stood out to me is it wasn't just Lake Beulah people, it was people from all around the Wisconsin area. DNR folks spoke, and things are happening quickly. And what also impressed me is Mr. Siegel was at this event as well. So it says to me that we are coming closer to working together. Already the beginning of this year, I am still seeing some damage being done. We live on the Island Drive, and there's some shallows, and every day we go out to the lake in the morning, and there are weeds that are washing up on the shoreline. So that is saying that there are still boats that are churning up weeds. Is it always wake boats? Probably not. But I think somebody else said we do want reports from police. I would love to see how many of even the 200 feet restrictions are being, there is an ordinance on that. I have seen so many egregious behaviors already from people taking off from their pier. There's that buoy, but they're in that 200 feet and they're still going off. And any boat can do damage at that level, including those ones that are gaining planing. So that still needs to be an issue addressed. But back to the conference that I attended, what really hit me was the person from Lake Geneva. That is a huge lake, and they have many concerns, and they are going after 700 feet. I don't think 500 feet is out of the ordinary. I don't think it's unrealistic. the boats are getting bigger and bigger. And yes, there are other things that cause damage, but even one boat that doesn't follow the rules can impact our lakes. And I really appreciate the fact that this board is willing to work together. And I think we've moved from banning them to trying to work together. And I think Richard said it well too. This is a trial year. This is a good chance for us to work together to come up with the best solution.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Can I raise this up a little bit? John Stoss, North 8831 Stringers Bridge Road. I'd like to thank the town for putting in the new AV system. It seems to be working real nice, and it's going to be an asset to be able to have these meetings, be able to be heard, and thank you for doing that. I don't know if anybody's here from the management district, but there's been a tree that's been blown down on your property for about a month, and it's feet from the road. So you might want to get somebody out there to fix that tree, get that thing cleaned up, because it's laying right on the edge of the road there. And it's a little bit of a hazard if somebody comes off the road, they're going to go right into that tree.
Is that on J?
Yeah, right on J, right across from the old double Ds. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. And then, I think that's all I got tonight.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Carl Sawyer. I live at N8844 County Road ES. I'm a lifelong resident of East Troy. Rich, thanks for your well thought out comments tonight. It brought some thought to my mind as to how would I handle a situation. For those of you that don't know, tonight I'm on the agenda as a citizen appointee to the East Troy Area Emergency Services District Board. Okay. And when Mr. Jones approached me about this, I told him I would gladly take that appointment. You know, I've had a long and varied history here in East Troy along with my family. I started a business that years ago, and boy, it was miserable getting it going. And had one heck of a pile of debt to climb out of. Today, we currently employ 15 people. Most of those people live within East Troy here, and we grossed over $4.5 million last year. We've become rather successful. I'm pretty proud of what we've accomplished. In doing so, my father taught me years ago that as part of being a business owner is supporting your community. And I've done that over the years in many and varied ways. Rich would probably be one of the first people to tell you that anytime the fire department needed a piece of equipment to overhaul a fire, tear down a building, whatever was needed, it was there. Last week we responded to Highway 43 with a skid steer and a broom to clean up the glass from an accident because we didn't want to have a firefighter standing there working on that for an hour doing that. So over the years, you know, really have enjoyed, I've had 20 plus years on the fire department and I've really enjoyed my service there. And I actually think I could bring something to this appointment. I think we're facing some difficult tasks ahead of us. There's a potential merger with Lafayette on the table and with Sugar Creek as well. And the potential for it to go very well or very bad, or either way in between. It could also cost us a lot of money as taxpayers. And I think that needs to be looked at very hard. So I'm hoping that with my experience, good and bad in the past with my business, being able to maintain my equipment and have what I believe to be some very nice equipment. I'm going to understand the capital outlays that go on here. I understand what it is to budget and, you know, work towards keeping your budget. And I think I also, from a firefighter standpoint, will understand what it takes to realize that there's a time for numbers to be your goal in this situation, but there's a time to realize when numbers can't be the goal as much as you want them to be. The lives that are at stake that you're working with, when you show up to that call, sometimes numbers don't matter. You know, 9 times out of 10, and Rich will be the first to tell you, very experienced man back there. most days when we're called, we show up on what is your very worst day. And sometimes you can't put a number to that. So with that, I want to keep it short. Obviously, there's a lot going on at this meeting tonight, so I look forward if anybody has any questions for me at any time. You can reach me at my business number, my cell. It's on 24/7, so thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Arthur Varick, N9415 East Shore Road. One of the benefits of going last, hopefully, is I get to just echo all the great ideas out there. The beautiful lady with the recycling, I think she had a fantastic idea about more frequency. Also, the gentleman about the ADA, I think, was very thoughtful, and I would echo his sentiments. I also want to thank the gentleman bringing up the efficient meetings. I know it's a delicate balance, but I think that was a good point to bring up. Also want to say to echo the clear decision making. I think there have been several examples about things being strung on, and sometimes it's the board's job to say no. And I think it's a tough thing to do, and thank you guys for taking it on, but sometimes it just needs to happen. The last thing I want to mention is just a general comment about the Planning Commission. I request that this board respects the law and process, precedent, and the recommendations of their committee of experts when making zoning decisions, especially when granting conditional use overrides. There was a recent court decision that referenced the actions of this previous board. I've read a lot of court decisions in my day, and I cannot remember a more clear rebuke from the judge of something being objectively against the law. I think it is telling that the county is not going to be pursuing that conditional use permit anymore. And I also think it would have saved the town a lot of taxpayer resources if they would have just listened to the experts on their planning committee who overwhelmingly voted 5-1 to deny the permit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry to steal your thunder. Nicole Hudson, W1721 South Shore Drive. I do have concerns regarding some of the proposed appointments due to existing public records, so I do urge the board to do your research on potential appointments, Google, CCAP, all of it. Due to my underlying concerns, I prefer to email the board confidentially, so depending on the outcome of tonight's meeting, I will send that email. I'm also confused as to why there are appointments on the agenda, as I thought this was discussed at the April 16th meeting under agenda item 10B. The packet listed all of the appointments, and the meeting minutes in the May packet also confirmed a motion passed for those appointments, so I don't understand why new appointments for the same roles are just coming to light now 2 months later when it was previously passed. So I'm confused there as to what the process is for these appointments. I also want to just put something on the record for myself. Completely not on the agenda, but just for myself, I want to say that I do not support development of any data centers in our area. They carry a significant environmental impact, including high water usage, heavy energy demand, substantial land disturbance, just to name a few. I'm not aware of any current proposals. I just want to put myself on the record and be proactive in stating my opposition. Our area and watershed are too important to how all of our houses are built. We're all well-based and things like that. So finally, I want to speak to, well, first, before I go there, because I have time, I also want to say that I do support ADA compliance, so thank you for bringing that to the town's attention. And finally, I want to speak about safety on the water this season. We are just a few weeks into the boating season of summer, and I have now personally witnessed multiple troubling incidents involving wake-enhanced boating. These are not the only incidents I have witnessed. I do want to state that. There are multiple. But these particular instances, and I will give 2 examples, have displayed clear safety hazards and disrespect for those around them. In my first example that I'll provide, there was a boat operating in wake enhancement mode with a surfer behind them that came well within 100 feet of the boat that I was operating. I was going slow. I had my grandfather, who is wheelchair-based, on board. We were staying as safe as possible, also staying away from boats in that 100-foot range. And a wake enhancement mode boat came probably within about 50 feet of us with a surfer on the wave behind them, which created a lot of rocking for our boat, which is hazardous to those of us on our boat, as well as a lot of safety concerns for both the people on their boat as well as the surfer, if the surfer had fallen, anything like that. So it's a clear violation of safe operating practices, and I just wanted to bring that as one example to the board's attention. In the second example I'll offer today, there was a wake boat towing a surfer where the boat only had one single person on board and did not have any sort of observer or spotter. So as we know, there is a town ordinance, and I did look these up today to confirm that there have not been changes, but Town Ordinance 16.05.140 requires both a boat operator and an observer. With the increased bow height created by wake enhancement mode, I think it's incredibly unsafe and frankly irresponsible to operate without both roles filled. These 2 incidents, just within the first few weeks, demonstrate that best practices and town law are not being followed and putting both public safety and the safety of those boaters at risk. In addition, the clear demarcation of 200 feet from shore has clearly shown that we have some narrow pathways of our 3-piece lake, further visualizing the risks long stated by residents over the past few years. Finally, I want to thank the board members who are taking action to protect our natural resources and respond to the concerns of residents.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else? Okay.
Michelle Fod, West 1305 Beach Lane, East Troy. Regarding 10M, I do not know what the attached memo says for the Lindy's property, but as a resident that lives 3 houses down from Lindy's property, I walk past that property pretty regularly with my dog, and there are cats in and out of the broken windows. They're in and out of where the cinder blocks are blocking the old alleyway or the old lanes to get in. The animals can get in and out of there. The building is dilapidated, falling apart. I'm not positive, but the roof looks a little weak, like it could cave in at any point. And I would really like to see the building gone to take away from the animal harborage points. So, thank you.
Thank you. Steve?
Steve Huning, W1763 Lake Road. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, fellow residents. I'm here tonight on behalf of the members of Protect Lake Beulah, past and present, and I've been asked to speak in support of item 10B, the proposal to regulate wake surfing by enacting advisory zones. It's likely that some people will say that this effort is premature or unnecessary, but I'd like to remind the board that this proposal is actually the result of many years of study and is based on sound science. It's also a compromise that allows wake surfing to continue on Lake Beulah, but only in the areas that have been scientifically determined to be safe for our delicate lake environment and those who recreate on it. In closing, I want to echo what Mr. Becker said a few minutes ago and ask the board to approve this proposed advisory rule as a common sense solution driven by science and supported by a clear majority of East Troy residents, as evidenced by their overwhelming decision to elect 2 new supervisors with strong lake protection credentials. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have anybody else?
I have a comment, Joe. I'll get up and, oh, I guess that works. Yeah, is that fine? All right.
Brian Fonz, and 8680 Wilmers Grove Road. Last month, there were 2 attorney letters and emails that were dropped in front of this board right before the start of the meeting. And in one of them, it was with regard to the agenda item on wake surfing or wake enhancement. And there were 3 points being made. The third point leveled accusations of appearance of impropriety and conflict of interest. And there were some misrepresentations in that. I asked, because there was reference to my attorney, or who would be my attorney. I asked my attorney to write Alder Hellquist and Weld Riley, who dropped the letter before the meeting. So I'm going to read the response from Dan Bach. Dear Mr. Hellquist, I am writing in regard to an email that you appear to have sent to Attorney Jim Mills, who represents the town of East Troy, on May 11, 2026. Paragraph number 3 of your email is captioned appearance of impropriety and refers to a town supervisor. You assert in your email that the town supervisor has retained the firm Pines Bach to represent him in regard to a waterways issue on Lake Beulah. Your email goes on to suggest that the town supervisor may need to recuse himself from discussion and votes concerning wake surfing because Pine Bach allegedly authored a memorandum addressed to the town board recommending a 500-foot setback from the shoreline in wake surfing. For the record, the Pines Bach represents Glenn McMurray, not me. My interest in this matter stems from my representation of Brian Fonz, who is a town of East Troy supervisor. Mr. Fonz was presented with a copy of your email moments before the start of the town board meeting on May 11th, 2026. Mr. Fonz sent the email to me because we are unaware of any other town of East Troy supervisor who has retained private legal counsel for any issue having to do with town of East Troy. If your email was intended to refer to Mr. Fonz, it contains at least 3 material misrepresentations. First, I am not nor I have been associated with the Pines Bach law firm. Firm does not represent Mr. Fonz. Second, I cannot recall having authored any memorandum to the East Troy Town Board recommending a particular setback for wake surfing. Third, and most significantly, my representation of Mr. Fonz and his spouse have nothing to do with wake surfing or waterways issue, as you put it. My representation of Mr. Fonz has to do with a very small section of real property that they own, which has nothing to do with waterways, wake surfing, or the public trust doctrine. It is unclear to me if any interest you would have in that matter. Since you have taken upon yourself to weigh in on whether a town supervisor, presumably Mr. Fonz, has a duty to recuse himself on a particular subject area based on inaccurate information included in your email, I wish to remind you that SCR 20, Section 4.1 forbids an attorney from making false representations of material fact to a third person in the course of that attorney's representation of a client. While you did not clarify in your email that you were writing on behalf of a client, your ubiquitous presence throughout the state at the behest of wake surfing interests strongly suggests that this was the case. I trust you will be more cautious about your treatment of the facts in the future. Dan Bach. And I just want to comment that in general, if we get these last minute letters, it's fine that we take that information, but when we don't have the time to read them or understand them, or the public doesn't even know what was put forth, that's not fair to us or the public.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. I'm Deborah Dunn, and I'm just here to talk a little bit. I live on East Shore, N9287 East Shore Road. That is one of the zones where it would be wake-enhanced boating. What I've been seeing with 200 feet out, the buoys that are there, it becomes a very narrow area. One of my concerns, they have the sailboats out there every weekend in the morning. In the afternoon, the littles come out, and that area is already condensed. Now you're going to put and designate that zone as where the wake boats need to go. I think this issue needs to continue to explore together with the Beulah Responsible Boaters, the town, Protect Lake Beulah, to come to a consensus on what those zones are, to study the lake. I understand there were some flaws, but there's two sides to every story. So let's look a little more closely before we put an advisory resolution in that has no weight. Who's going to monitor it? You go out there this summer, it's already contentious. People in wake boats are feeling like they're being pointed out, and I think we need to advocate to bring people together. That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'm gonna say 1, 2, 3. We're gonna move on, yeah. No, thanks for everybody's comments. Now we're gonna move into the report of departments. We're gonna do 5D and H at the end, so you wanna start, Supervisor Reyes?
Sure. So from the Booth Lake Memorial Park meeting in May, as previously reported, there was a big project completed this year to put new windows, siding, and insulation on the caretaker's residence at Booth Lake Memorial Park. Thanks to the work of the employees, the caretakers, and other volunteers, there was approximately $25,000 saved on that project. All of that work was done for less than $30,000. They even used the leftover pieces of the siding to cover the garage, not have to leave that for the future project. As they were working on it, they realized that more insulation was needed in the attic area that was not originally counted for. It was just the sides, when they were doing the siding, that they did the insulation. And they input a door instead of a window on one side. And so based on the savings, they were proposing doing a deck this year outside of that door. So the total estimated cost, again, with the caretakers and volunteers doing all of the work, is about $6,600. All three municipalities, the town of Troy, the village of East Troy, and the town of East Troy share in capital improvements equally, 1/3 each. So that would mean $2,200 for the town of East Troy. While I understand we have a very tight budget this year, and unfortunately right now we don't have a good idea of where we have funds available or where we're short on funds. Obviously, the timing of this is in order to get it done in the summer while the work is half started, right, with the needs. So the Booth Lake Memorial Park did draft Resolution 2026-01 that is in the packet, which is basically authorizing the additional $6,600 for capital improvements, of which $2,200 would be our responsibility. So therefore, I would like to make a motion to approve Resolution 2026-01 to amend the 2026 Booth Lake Memorial Park budget as presented.
I would second that.
Okay, so,
Any,
And then discussion, right?
yeah, discussion. Go ahead if.
So we don't have budget for this. So if something like this comes up, something emergent that we don't, I don't know how you plan for these necessarily, do we need to amend our budget?
Yes, we would have.
We have to find.
We already made the capital improvement payment for this year, I believe, right?
So-
This year too.
So would we be in a position to act on it? Because we have a Booth Lake Memorial Park budget amendment in front of us, or a resolution in front of us. That's for the Booth Lake Memorial Park District, right? It's not a town resolution?
Correct.
That is their resolution. That's correct.
So would this action complete the authorization, or would we have to do something later?
We
would have to have our own budget reallocation of funds.
And would we have to do that prior to approving the Booth Lake Memorial Park resolution, or could we do that in arrears?
Ratify the board's decision tonight when that.
Is everybody touching their microphones?
I'm green.
He's green.
Sorry. The town board can ratify a decision tonight with an amendment to our town budget in months that follow.
Okay.
And then we would authorize, there's a resolution for that, correct? Isn't that what we would do?
Yes.
All right. So we would authorize you to draft a resolution.
Correct.
That would be the two things we would do tonight. What we're concerned with is $2,200. That isn't in the budget.
Well, I mean, it just gets more expensive if we don't do it this year, right?
I understand. So, I mean, we do have, I just signed checks tonight, and gas prices are going through the roof, so we are seeing some climbing in that area. So I do know we have some left in the town budget from the 20 grand we put in there. I mean, we could take it from there. I don't know if we're saving anything anywhere else. That's something we're gonna have to look at, but.
I think we're fortunate in the way that the staff that's there right now, Sean and some of the crew are doing the work pro bono.
Right.
So if we didn't do this while they were there, where they're offering to do all the labor, this would cost a heck of a lot more.
Go ahead.
Treasurer Loth, weren't you talking about a loan? It's green. Weren't you talking about we needed to take out a loan?
Yes.
Okay. Would it be possible for us to roll $2,200 into this upcoming loan? I think that would be very appropriate.
It's capital improvements.
It is. That whole loan needs to be resolved. It's
Yeah.
something that's on the agenda here, upcoming really quick, because we've got to cover the DPW stuff, so we've talked about having to do that probably in the next month.
Yep, it'll be presented at the next board meeting.
So we are going to be putting together the loan for the capital that's going to be spent. This could easily be
And this
part-
would be considered capital, if I'm not mistaken.
It would
So
be. That's correct.
It would be appropriate to roll it into perhaps that loan and not
Correct.
necessarily take it out of our cash
No,
flow.
no, I would not propose. I'm just saying we do have money to cover it right now. The loan needs to be settled, so.
So it sounds like we can
So-
find a way.
We have a motion and a second.
So, yeah, so the motion is to simply approve the BLMP resolution, or was there something additional?
Our contribution of $2,200.
Which
That's all-
authorizes the
That's all
2,200.
we're approving.
We're not motioning to update our budget or amend it later.
Not at-
We'll just do that
tonight.
later.
Yeah, it wasn't noticed for that for
Yeah,
tonight.
okay.
So the motion on the floor is to approve the $2,200 to Booth Lake to support this, correct?
Correct. It is not necessarily ADA compliant deck, but the deck is, again, attached to the caretaker's residence. It's not for the public access. So, in the posting and the agenda, it mentions ADA compliance.
So, any other discussion at this point? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries.
Thank you.
So the next thing on the list is the Planning Commission report.
Yep. So I thought what I'd do is I just make a motion on these, and then if we require discussion, we can have discussion. So I'll motion that we approve the Planning Commission report for the month of June. Is that complete enough, Jean, or do I need to add more verbiage there?
I would defer to Planning Commission Secretary Olson, because she knows if it's an approval or a denial to accept what they're doing.
I would think you'd have to list it specifically.
List each of the items?
Yes.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the Planning Commission report, which includes
Is this
Supervisor-
just approving the minutes?
No, Supervisor
No.
Smith, all you need to do is approve what is written under 8B1,
I make a motion.
what the Planning Commission's recommendation is for that, approval or denial.
Architecture, this whole thing.
yeah, it's just that it doesn't list what our action was on there.
It's the
That's right.
last paragraph of her note, the memo from Secretary Olson.
Okay. Okay, I got it, sorry. All right, I'll make a motion to approve the, make it an
Planning
sorry.
Commission's recommendation to
Just,
approve.
you can
Yeah,
read
I'm
it.
just looking for the right text here.
Yeah.
All right, I make a motion to approve the Planning Commission decision to approve the special exemption to the town building code as stated at W 1758 and W 1762 South Shore Drive, East Troy, Wisconsin, 53120, parcel number PCT 00001. This exemption will not go before county zoning as it is an exemption of town building code. This decision will then go to the building inspector and allow for building permitting.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So motion carries. So then we go to 5D, which,
This is DPW.
well, we moved it out of the consent agenda down to the reports of departments, right? 5D is DPW's report?
Public Works.
Okay. I did not have a copy of that in my packet. Do you have it? You can talk to it?
Yeah.
I can,
I suggested pulling it out because I noted there was some feedback on the Honey Creek Road repaving. And I believe this is the one that was with the provider that we had not used before. And I just thought it sounded like the town should be aware and discuss it and take it into consideration in the future. And so Todd had included that there were some resident complaints when the road was milled for patching. There were some residents that messaged through the website, and they said they were treated very rudely, and their concerns were dismissed. I don't know how much control the service provider would have, but there was apparently an asphalt plant breakdown in the middle of the final surface coat, and so that delayed the finishing and has resulted in a cold joint seam. A roller broke down and leaked oil on the new surface coat, and so now they'll have to cut that spot out and repave it, causing more inconvenience to the Honey Creek residents. A large area has already cracked, and that means another cutout and repaved section. And they repaved over a section marker that was marked out, and they will have to have it relocated. So Todd described these as atypical issues than what have been incurred in recent years. And so I know we had some caution in awarding this low-cost provider for this bid, and I just wanted to, and maybe we'll have to ask Todd, I think this is his summary of what happened.
Right.
And maybe we need to be a little more aware and make note of this for future.
He did make a comment to me that the quantity of asphalt seems applicable, okay, so realistic, but unable to tell, I don't know that they did core samples or anything to see if the density was where they were expecting it to be, so I think he's still trying to assess this. And then we have 1 year to see how the road's gonna respond. So hopefully we can get some more data before next season.
Did Todd say if the contractor resolved the issues at that time, or?
So I wanted to pull this from the consent agenda too, and unfortunately Todd's not here, but those are some of the questions I had. So, you know, he mentioned resident complaints were received. I didn't see any of them, and I don't know how many there were. You know, there was a time in my career where I did road work. It's common to get complaints, you know, to some extent. You are interrupting people's day-to-day, right, ability to go to work in a timely manner if you're doing construction in front of their home. So I don't think it's necessarily unusual to get complaints, but I'd like to know what the complaints were and how many, so that we as a board can follow up and understand. I know he had some concerns up front because we hadn't done business with the contractor, but I'd just like to learn a little bit more. Also, I'd like to learn if we've received any complaints on any other projects, particularly Beulah Heights. I think there's the hot in place work being done too. So I'd like to, just as a matter of process, see all the complaints. If there are complaints recorded on the town website, staff have viewed them, but we as a board haven't. So I just don't know how any of that is actionable without more information. And then in terms of the asphalt having a breakdown and in the middle of the where they had to, it resulted in a cold joint seam. I'm just curious, in his view, is that the preferred remedy or not? Are there concerns with that remedy? Same with the large area that was cracked, cut out, repaved. And then with regard to that section marker, well, who's responsible for marking the section markers, and you know, how did the company respond? Also, you know, the complaint with an employee being rude, how did the company respond? And did the company take any corrective action? So just a lot of questions, and I think with big projects like this, there's going to be things that come up. There can be complaints. We need more information to understand it better.
Yeah, as long as we're on this, I mean, we had a citizen bring to our attention St. Peter's Road, which we did the hot resurfacing, and, you know, we should look into that as well and see how that's holding up, and, you know, use that for future decision-making. I drive to St. Peter's Road. I do notice a couple areas that are you know, breaking up.
Right.
And, but I don't know what, you know, would be normal for that type of a process, and if, you know, we go back and patch them, so we need to look into that.
I think we probably have to ask Todd some of this, but for St. Peter's Road, I was aware of this. He mentioned to me that there was some density issues there. He had the owner of the company out to inspect it with him, and he agreed that there was some challenges there, so this next time there were some commitments. So I would suggest that try to talk with Todd, or that's probably the best way, just talk with Todd about it. Because I know he's on this stuff at this point.
I agree.
Any other comments on the report? All right, so then 5H is the Park Committee report. Supervisor Church.
At this time, I have some additional comments. I would like to let the public know that the giant Adirondack chair is now seated in the Hosta Garden, and the photo contest is for pictures with the Adirondack chair are being accepted using the QR code at the chair to be forwarded to the town. On behalf of the Town of East Troy's Park Committee and the Town Board, I would like to thank and recognize the following. The East Troy High School Tech Ed teacher Michael Hoff and his students Trinity Anderson, Novana DeBorge, and Caden Fremont, who built the giant Adirondack chair. The East Troy High School horticulture and landscaping teacher Ryan Holly and his students Cadence Dixon, Stacy Stochetti, Brody Smith, Wayne Jordan, Keenan Fuller, Mason Kane, Connor Sickler, Casey Mulcahy, Preston Patani, and Gavin Fremont, who worked on improving the landscaping at the Jim Burns Memorial Park on June 4th and 5th as much as they could in the rain. We would also like to recognize the Department of Public Works staff, Jeff, Rick, and Superintendent Shield for their efforts to relocate the giant Adirondack chair from the East Troy High School to the Jim Burns Memorial Park Costa Garden. And especially Superintendent Shield, who set up a tent so that pictures of the chair and the East Troy High School students could be taken in the rain. Additionally, we need to thank the town hall staff, Olson and Larson, for taking pictures in the rain and creating the promotional announcements of the chair in the photo contest. Finally, I would like to recognize the Lake Beulah Golf Course gifts to the East Troy High School students who built the chair and did the Jim Burns Memorial Park landscaping. All of these people and businesses truly reflect the spirit of community throughout the town of East Troy. Thank you.
All right. Any other comments on the clerk report?
Not at this time.
All right. So then we move on to unfinished business, 9A. Supervisor Smith.
Yeah, so I think as we discussed before we get started with our discussion, I want to give Ms. Schultz an opportunity to speak on behalf of PLPRD.
Do you want to speak ahead, or do you want to? Okay. Yep. Here.
Technology. Okay, light's green, does that mean it's good? Okay.
Green is good.
Okay. I'm Kathy Schultz from the Potters Lake Protection and Rehabilitation District. And my main objective is I want to support the continue the mutually beneficial relationship that the town of East Troy and the Potters Lake Protection and Rehabilitation District has had for nearly 50 years. The PLPRD has done a magnificent job of maintaining and caring for Potter Lake. Though it sounds like I'm patting myself on the back, I am not. I've held the position of chair for a mere 2.5 years, and I'm simply hoping to continue the traditions of those who served before me. Honestly, I was confused by the town board's actions regarding the end of the roadway at Lake Lane. Despite there being no reported problems or concerns with our use of this area, there was one complaint from a citizen who does not live near Potter Lake, and it seems to have been given more weight than it deserved. Our use of the property is not illegal, and 2 months ago, the board seemed ready to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with us to formalize basically the status quo. But without any discussion with the PLPRD, that all seemed to change on May 13th when demands were made for us to pay upwards of $5,000 to rezone the area and also to remove our equipment until an agreement was signed. This caused significant concern and anxiety, particularly among our harvesting team, who were unsure how to begin the important work of weed harvesting under these conditions. However, in subsequent conversations with Supervisor Smith, it became clear that the discussion of paying for rezoning and permits was somewhat moot, as the property is not a parcel and is a road. And then in the 1998 lease between us and the town was located, Supervisor Smith seemed to indicate that we were on a clear path to continuing this partnership. So it was somewhat alarming to read the agenda item for this meeting stating that the board would determine whether to revoke, amend, or replace that existing agreement. There was never any conversation at any time about revocation. And I guess I'm perplexed as to why members of the board would believe that revocation would be in the town's best interest. So over the past 3 weeks, several riparian owners and I have needed to do a deep dive into the history of our relationship with the town. I just want to note that many of our records were stored in cardboard boxes in the barn on L, and when we went to look at those a year ago,
there was a lot of mouse damage of varieties of ways. So we have limited paper documents, shall we say. But I was able to speak with one of the founding members of our district through this, and I will say that is a silver lining through all of this, because I got to hear her speak about how the district was formed and how the town has always supported our maintenance of the lake, including the use of Lake Lane as a safe place to park our harvesting equipment. And in return, the PLPRD has maintained the site, mowed the lawn, cleaned up debris, and paid for power to the utility pole. It's pretty clear, and from my conversations, that that the town's DPW crews, or that the town actually fully supported the use of our site. Up until 5 years ago, the town's DPW crews actually placed the conveyor at the site for us. Now our head guy's got his own truck, so he doesn't. But, and then in fact, in 2024, a tree fell on that property. And we informed the town that there was a tree on the property, and we're told it was our responsibility to remove it, which we did. Our employees cut it up, cleared it away. I've found some paper copies of minutes that were salvageable from the 1980s, and there are multiple references to them wanting to park the harvester or needing to park the harvester at the west end of the lake when it is not in use, which is the Lake Lane Inn. And then one of the main reasons for that is safety. We do have a land use agreement with the DNR that we can use the boat landing for our harvester, but this is not an ideal location. First of all, it is extraordinarily busy there. And that just makes a much greater possibility of someone, climbing on our equipment, which we don't want. And also, maneuvering the harvester there is a challenge, and it's because of the wind. It makes it very difficult for the operator to actually maneuver the machine easily, and it could get pushed off into very shallow water where we're messing with plants and getting stuck, lake bottom, which also the harvester can't tip. There's also the possibility that the harvester could be, sorry, I don't want to break your heart, blown into a pier or another boat, or sorry, a little comedy there, which that would increase the potential for injury. So, the riparian owners and the PLPRD, I believe, have done an exemplary job of creating a little slice of heaven here in East Troy. Over the past 50 years, we have seen this lake go from being surrounded by small cottages to mostly year-round homes valued in the upper hundreds of thousands to the million-plus range. Taxes paid by our riparian owners have contributed significantly to the town of East Troy's coffers. Meanwhile, our community takes care of itself. Really, we ask the town for nothing more than to be allowed to park our equipment at the end of Lake Lane. And so this last few weeks has been an unsettling experience for those of us on Potter Lake, but I truly hope that we come together with the town to reach an agreement that meets the needs of all parties, and I further hope we will be able to rebuild the trust that is needed for this continued positive relationship.
Okay.
Okay. And I have, if there's any other questions that come up over there, I have documentation of everything I said. So, okay?
So, learned a lot over the last few weeks on this whole thing, and I didn't have time to get this fully, all the I's dotted and T's crossed in time for the deadline on the first, because it took until the first to get a meaningful response from county, and then and Ms. Schultz and PLPRD provided response on June 1st too. So that's just for those of you in the audience, that's our deadline to get all the packet together and things. I try to summarize it in the memo and frame it in a way where we can have a discussion around zoning and surveys and costs, and then try to separate that from agreement and understanding the existing agreement that we do have. It's a formal agreement with PLPRD, and if we desire to change it, keep it, whatever. So basically what I found, what I tried to highlight, and these were rough estimates, but what I wanted to highlight is that if we were to desire to chop off a parcel from the right-of-way and zone it P1, it would require a wetland delineation, a survey, a rezone, and then a conditional use from the county. So it's not as simple as just a simple wetland delineation. Further, if we were to do that, I think there are some considerations to be had with how that might affect the abutting. There's an open lot just to the north of that property. There's no home there, but we'd have to be careful if we did want to parcel it off so that we're not disadvantaging any other property owners. So just wanted to lay it out there. Furthermore, the county doesn't require us to rezone, right? So to park a weed harvester, you need P1 zoning, or it's also okay if you're doing that within a right-of-way. So it's the county hasn't asked us, and I don't think they have the ability to require us to rezone to continue parking the weed harvester. Other towns have done it. Other towns, town of Whitewater was mentioned in the email from county. It's been at their discretion, their desire to rezone right-of-ways into P1. So I thought we could have a discussion around that. If anyone on the board thinks we need to take action or express an interest in, expending some dollars, sharing costs with PLPRD.
In an effort to be more efficient in our meetings and not further complicate things, I would think the simplest action would be to document the current agreement, determine if we still need to collect $1 every 10 years, or if that was only the first 10 years, and move on.
Well, sure, but I think there's a lot to unpack here and learned a lot we've had a couple of town board meetings on this. So I just wanted to have a discussion around the rezone. I think, there was some discussion around alternative uses for the site and things like that. So I just don't see me personally, I don't see there being a need to rezone or,
I don't either.
do any surveys.
Joe, may I be recognized?
Yes, sir.
After the last town board meeting, Supervisor Smith did ask if it would be possible, without a rezone or wetland delineation, to continue with the status quo. I said personally I did not have any issues with that. And then I indicated that I was surprised by the facts that you found out about possible zoning on the property, and I asked Supervisor Smith, I said, I'm wondering, since the area that's going to be used to store the lake management equipment, because it's actually in a town right-of-way, why would the county even care how right-of-way is zoned?
They don't.
And they don't.
Yeah.
So I did review the 1998 permissive use agreement between the town of East Troy and the use of this property. It calls for a automatically renewing lease for a 10-year term. Cost, I think a reasonable reading of it is that dollar lease fee needs to be paid every time the lease is renewed. So I think as long as the fees are brought current, we already have an agreement, and I don't think there needs to be any change.
Well, so I want to talk about that though, because it took a while for both PLPRD and the town to uncover that. We were all operating under the impression that there was a long-standing agreement, albeit informal. So I think if I had a concern, it's that these things can get discussed, a general agreement, is documented, and then forgotten about essentially for 28 years. So I have a concern around that, and I also have a concern around that 1998 agreement and I'm not a lawyer, so I appreciate Attorney Mills's input on this. It's not signed by a representative of the PLPRD. It states that unless there's another document, I have a copy of a town resolution which is asking that PLPRD maintain the property, hold the town harmless and things, but I didn't see anything signed by the PLPRD. So I'm just curious if that's the appropriate language or not.
I do believe that we can update this to make it more current. I don't have a signed copy of anything. I was able to find in the archives this draft that I don't even have a signed copy from the town. I'm assuming it's in town records somewhere. But yes, it should be countersigned, if you will, by Potter's Lake.
So
Potter Lake.
So I don't think there's anything urgent, because I would imagine if we continue digging, we can find a signed copy of that 1998 resolution where we're asking that PLPRD to hold the town harmless and maintain the property. But I think it would be in both parties' interest to reestablish the agreement if we can't find signatures, or create a version of the agreement where we're not looking at it once every 10 years. I think it would be, it's in our best interest to ensure that PLPRD, and I don't think this is a controversial statement, provide us with a certificate of insurance and indemnify the town. And and they did provide a certificate of insurance. Yeah. I don't know how they can indemnify us without signing something.
Well, that's what the agreement does, right?
They never signed it. It's just a resolution.
All right, so we can update that. So
We can update that.
Yeah.
So the issue then at hand is, it sounds like we can stay with this. We bring it up to date, have a countersigned by PLPRD. It covers the indemnification.
Yeah.
Right? We have a certificate of insurance. I guess what more do we need at this point? Can we just-
Do we still want to go, I mean, with a 10-year term, these things tend to get lost. Should we maybe make it more frequent?
So I would advocate for a 2-year term that renews. And that's what I asked Attorney Mills to incorporate into the proposed agreement prior to learning of the 1998 agreement. So I think 2 years is reasonable. It's frequent enough where it's coming back to where it's coming back to the town, so no one forgets about it.
Could I suggest, because we now have online resolutions and ordinances, and if we're going to just simply take this, put the current town board signatures and the PLPRD, and put it online with our coding, we will have it on record for any future questions or concerns.
I have one comment to make also. When you look at the DNR and how they structure their agreements, the minimum is 5 years. And usually after the first 5 years, it's kind of an introductory thing where they say, yep, you did what you said, we did what we said. Then they'll go up to 15 years. So I just think 2 years is going to be very onerous. We're talking about trying to keep meetings shorter and everything. I think 2 years is tight.
Yeah, I'd refer to, some of Attorney Mills' statements in the April meeting where I believe, and Mr. Mills, you have to correct me, but I think you brought up a concern, like if it's a perpetual agreement, maybe it should be recorded. If it's to renew periodically, it's not necessary.
That was if we were going to be doing a permissive use agreement. Mm-hmm. This is more along the lines of a lease.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's different.
Okay.
So
Well,
did our lease have to be 4 pages? I just thought that was a little bit of overkill.
4 pages.
I see 2 pages.
I only have 2.
There's only 2.
It's barely 2.
Yeah.
The only
Signatures are.
the only reason why the minutes from the meeting are in there is because they show unanimous agreement.
No, I was talking about the intergovernmental use.
That was before, it really probably shouldn't have even been included. That was before this was found.
No,
We're not doing that.
I deliberately included that because I wanted to have the discussion, and that's what we were framing the last meeting. We discussed quite at length cost of surveys, and I wanted to bring that back so that we could close the discussion. And we discussed at length the nature of the agreement, and I wanted to bring that back for discussion. So to me, the way I would frame this at this point, based on our discussion here, is do we want to pursue something under the existing framework or pursue an agreement under that proposed framework? And then what is the appropriate length of time for the agreement?
Can I go ahead and make a motion to update Resolution 98-8, authorizing the transfer of property to the Potters Lake Rehabilitation District with updated signatures and including the Potter Lake PLPRD and identifying the costs and the maintenance that are already being done by PLPRD, to give you credit for that. Yeah, for the same term, 10 years, automatically renewing.
So is that authorizing Attorney Mills to draft that, or how do we do this?
Can we draft it, since it's the same thing,
Yeah.
and we're just adding, do we need the attorney
I
to?
agree. I think it can be done pretty quickly.
If needed, I can do that. I can put a draft in the next meeting.
Yeah, understand.
I disagree. I disagree. I think we need an
have a second?
indemnification clause, and
We have a second.
I'll second for
No.
discussion. I'll second for discussion. I disagree because I think it's a legal matter. I think it's best to provide some instruction to Attorney Mills to come up with an updated draft that we can review. I'd like to see an indemnification clause. I don't know how we just get that done without reviewing it before signature.
And I was going to add, I would never suggest that a legal document be drafted by a board member. I know right now it appears as though we're only adding a counter signature and reference to like a We Energies utility light pole maintenance of the sort. Even with those two minor changes, I still think it shouldn't fall on a town board supervisor's shoulder. Or the clerk, for that matter.
So any other discussion? So we have, what is the motion?
Motion on the table is to update the 98-8 agreement to include signatures, indemnification, costs that have been incurred already, and to continue the agreement for 10 years.
And so the only thing we have
Separate.
to modify is authorizing Attorney Mills. Is that separate, or can we add that?
Separate.
Separate issue.
Unless she wants to amend her motion.
Let's do it separate.
Okay, we'll do it separate. All right, any other discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, so what is that?
All off.
A roll call?
Yeah.
So
Do a roll call.
Reyes, aye.
Nay.
Jones, aye.
Smith, nay.
Church, nay.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, so.
I'll make a motion that we authorize Attorney Mills to review the 1998 resolution to modify to include an indemnification clause, update the term to a period of 5 years, and update the signature lines.
Second.
So any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. So I guess Attorney Mills, you are taking a look at this.
$0.50 for 5 years, huh? Efficiency.
Okay. So we're done with 9A.
We're on 9C, I think.
right. 9C,
So the intent was simply, I don't think any discussion or action is required. I just was reporting that at the last meeting, I was authorized to draft the letter to Captain Dan Nichols of the Traffic Safety Commission at the county regarding the intersection at Highway 20 and Town Line Road. And I just wanted to report that that letter has been submitted to the county with signatures from all board members, our police chief, and clerk treasurer Lowe's. Just an update on unfinished business.
all right. Any commentary on the update?
Thank you for doing that, Supervisor Reyes.
Yep. Well written. So now we're on to new business, 10A, liquor license. Is that something Clerk Treasurer Loth you want to talk to, or?
Yep, everyone has, former Deputy Clerk Treasurer Norling put this together and was very thorough and basically brought it to conclusion, other than approval and sending, actually finalizing the documents to give to the business owners. So everyone has paid the fees that are required, except there's some that we're waiting for approval, and then they'll pay that final cost. So they've passed their inspections, they've passed everything else, their fire inspections, their building inspections, and so forth. Some have paid all of their fees. Other ones will pay upon approval tonight and pick up of their documents. So I would encourage the board to make a motion and approve this.
That was my only question, that some of them were blank in the,
Yep, because they're waiting to receive approval.
so it's not like $15 per person, or?
Nope, what they owe is $400, they owe for their actual license. They've paid all the publication fees and so forth. It's just the actual license that has not yet been paid for by some of them.
Okay.
It was
Then I will-
pending approval.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to approve the 2026-2027 liquor license and operator license per the 2026 liquor and operator licenses spreadsheet as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. 10B, Supervisor Fonz. I think
Yes.
that's yours.
Yes. This is a resolution to approve, or a recommendation to approve Resolution 2026-11, consistent with the Lake Beulah Management District proposed advisory recommending wake enhancement activities to occur in two specified zones, 25 feet of water, 500 feet from shore in Lake Beulah, including placing signage or maps at the Wilmer Landing Road, Lake Beulah launch. These recommendations will be for the 2026 summer season, ending on September 30th, 2026.
Second.
Okay, we have a.
Yeah, there was a motion.
Okay.
Discussion.
Any discussion?
I did notice section 2 reads certain artificial wake enhancement prohibited. I think it should read section 2, certain artificial wake enhancement recommendations, because there's recommendations listed below, so. Curious what you think about that, Brian?
Okay, where is that now? Section 2?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What's that again?
So it reads, certain artificial wake enhancement prohibited.
Correct.
I think it could be corrected to read certain artificial wake enhancement recommendations, because there are two recommendations below. I think it's just the title lining up with the recommendations.
Okay.
So I don't know if I'd make a motion to amend the resolution correcting section 2 to read certain
Well-
artificial wake enhancement recommendations.
We're
We
in
have
the
a
middle of
motion
a
on the table
motion
already.
right now. We have a motion and a second.
Oh, so we can't amend a motion?
Person that made the
Oh,
motion.
okay, so
He would have to.
Yeah,
Right.
I would make it, right?
I think there's more discussion, right?
I think there
There's
is more
more, okay.
discussion. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what I'd like
Yeah.
to consider, but I didn't have anything else at this time.
All right. again, it's clear after that section, and I get where you're, Garrett, coming from as far as just clarifying that, making it consistent, but even after that, it says, it is recommended but not mandated. So, but yeah, we could make that change for sure.
If I may comment, Joe?
Yes.
I do believe the change to recommended in the title section is a proper change. I also contacted the board after I received the letter from Attorney Anders Hellquist about 3 o'clock this afternoon, and indicated that I don't have any problem with the town board posting this advisory resolution. My opinion was that it go before the DNR. Although it's not required like an ordinance is, I still thought that they can review the language itself, not necessarily approve whatever our intended purpose is, but to review the language itself. I think it's always best to, it's always better to be safer than sorry later on. However, having thought about it some more, what my fear is if the town board submits it to the DNR for language review, it might be thrown in their to-do stack of ordinance review, which may take 60 to 90 days to happen. So that is something I think the board needs to discuss. And I also encourage the board to make any other suggested changes to the advisory resolution before it gets approved for posting.
Okay, so we have the two changes. As far as the DNR approval, again, this is not an ordinance.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you done?
What's the other change?
Well, the one was going from resolution recommended, and
Correct.
we were going to go section 2, and instead of certain artificial wake enhancement, we would say recommendation.
Instead of prohibited, it's recommendation.
All right.
What was the first one?
The first one is in the title. Instead of recommending, recommended.
Oh, okay.
Okay. There have been other municipalities that have passed advisory resolutions. Ones I'm aware of that are listed in here are Nida, Bayfield, and Jefferson. I'm not aware that any of them had DNR review or submitted that. Again, it's not an ordinance. In that case, it would be required to be reviewed by the DNR. These are recommendations we put right in there. They're not mandated. Clearly advisory. And
So this is committing the town to some expenses. Do we have an estimate on what that is?
well, it would be I just put to be determined. I did talk to Todd about that. They have a sign maker in, I think it was Wind Lake or Tishigan, and he said they are very reasonable. So I said, we talking a couple $100? He said, maybe not even that. And then whatever time it would be to put, to put the sign up. So it would be minimal.
It says using lakes and ponds map. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it would be good to understand that.
Who's going to
And
deter?
that's going to be in effect for only 3 months. We're making that investment, and then it'll be done the end of September.
Well, it's,
right?
yeah, it's important to convey the information, and you have to, I mean, other municipalities have done this, have a sign posted. So, yeah, it's,
Why can't you, is there not a public notice board that you can attach the advisory resolution pages to with the maps rather than have a sign made?
Well, I don't know how many people look at that. I mean, no, when they drive up, who reads that? And it needs to be visible, so, because we are talking about areas on the lake that, you know, that would be, and then I'm trying to think if that's, they are listed in here, if you take a look. And again, this was a map that we're taking from a independent contractor that LBMD hired to get an accurate map. There have not been any accurate maps of Lake Beulah. So they accurately identified the extended flats and the points and the humps. So we did utilize the most accurate map that I know of that's available. So this isn't in color, but let me see if I have it. The LBMD had these where, okay, this would outline, you know, the area in Long Lake, okay? So, you know, and this isn't even a great graphic of it. We get a better graphic of it. Oh, there it is. Okay, right. Okay, that's better. So the print didn't come out. It came out as shaded in black and white. So it would identify both. Do you have the other ones as well, Jen? There's one that identifies both zones. We would need to highlight it better, but that's the entire map of the lake, so you can see on the west. That's the east area, which would be off the east shore area. Now, these are the two biggest areas of the lake that would be suitable or most appropriate for wake surfing if we're going to try and keep it in 25 feet of water and 500 feet from shore, which is based on other lakes and recommendations. The recommendations they have done as a conservative parameter. So we got 40 acres there. The two other areas are smaller, 25 and 17 acres. They have the camps in there, and that's we don't have any there. But then on the west end, it's roughly about 40 acres as well. So what we would do on the sign is show an overall view of the entire lake and then highlight the two specific ones to give. And people can, boaters that go out can take a picture of that and have that available. I think there would be some communications going out from, I think last meeting, PLB mentioned they would put something out, and LBMD has some communication ability to get things out. So, you know, we could post that as well. So I think that the sign generally is what the most effective way to convey the recommendations for the lake. So,
I have an additional discussion. Who's going to determine what portion of this advisory resolution makes it onto the sign?
I did make I looked at other signs, and there was just the basic information. So it would be advisory or recommendations for wake enhancement zones. Okay, something like this. Wake boat advisory zones, 25 feet operating minimum of 25 feet up, 500 feet from shore, operating wake mode only recommended in the following zones and then the maps below it. Okay. Just very basic.
Okay. Another discussion point. I think that there are other modifications that would be required for the board to adopt this advisory resolution, just to include the words recommended in other sections.
Okay.
Under now, therefore, be it resolved, section 1, the title of it should be establishment of recommended wake enhancement sports zones, because if you don't include the words recommended in the title, even though the title may not be part of the resolution itself, I think then it at least reads more like a regulation than an advisory suggestion. Second, under section 1B, location of zones, I think it needs to read, there shall be 2 recommended wake enhancement sports zones.
Okay. Where was the last one you mentioned?
The first one was in the title itself.
Oh, right there, establishment of wake enhancement.
Of recommended wake enhancement sports zone.
Okay.
In talking about the language, I am a little concerned, even on the first page. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth whereas, specifying only whereas artificially enhanced wakes can cause environmental damage to lakes and lake shore. I think singling out one type of activity is a risk for the board. And you could say ski boats and jet skis, all as they're pulling out at higher speeds, can also
Michelle.
cause environmental damage to lakes and lake shore.
I didn't catch what you were calling out there, Michelle.
Go ahead.
She's talking about the fifth one down, the fifth whereas.
Whereas there.
Thank you.
A jet ski isn't artificially enhancing a wake. That's what it's, so it's a definition of a method of operation. So whereas artificially enhanced wakes.
But we're
Mhm.
singling out that
Yeah,
one
that's
activity.
absolutely. I mean, that's you mean that could be a fishing boat that puts a bladder in it and fills it with water and operates in a bow high fashion. So we're not singling out a boat or anything. It's a method of operation that causes a bigger wake that can cause damage. So that, yeah, I mean, I think
And
it's
to that-
accurate.
To that point, I think one of the emails we received did advise us that, exactly that there are other activities that can cause environmental damage as well. And we shouldn't be singling out one activity.
Well-
And then by stating,
Yeah.
what was it? The bow position
Mhm.
could also implicate other activities as
Mhm. I mean, if-
detrimental.
Mhm.
Can-
So,
Can I maybe, I mean, you're getting into some, I put together a lot of the emails that came in. I was just highlighting a few points. Can I just read through some points here? I do think the opposing viewpoint needs to be heard as well. We heard some of it at the podium. We started receiving these emails yesterday about 1:14 PM, and I tried to forward all of them to you as I copied them, because Gene, you weren't on the list for those things. It's frustrating. They don't know that you have to record them. But anyway, so I'm just going to read through just some quick comments in each of these. Lake protection is important, but the recommendation unfairly targets one group of boaters and does not fully address responsible operation by all lake users. Everyone who uses Lake Beulah has an interest in protecting the lake. As written, the proposal treats wake boats as the problem. That is too narrow. Lake impact is not caused by one type of boat alone. It is affected by speed, ballast, depth, distance from shore, lake bed, conditions, shoreline conditions, traffic density, operator behavior, and overall lake use. A rule aimed only at wake boats is too simple for a problem that is not simple. The current proposal is advisory and not enforceable by law. That means it may not create a clear standard. Instead, it could create confusion, social pressure, selective blame without addressing the broader issue of responsible boating by all users. A better approach would focus on conduct, not categories. There was one that provided some testimony from William Van Holzer, who's a chemical engineer from the University of Wisconsin. and was an executive at the Dow Chemical Company. He said, all boats are equally responsible for disturbances in less than 14 feet of water. Wind is by far the primary cause of bottom disturbances and shoreline erosion. Many of the noted reports have flawed data and are scientifically unsound. Other points to consider that contribute to lake disturbances: very large pier placement barges, which are operating all along the shore every spring and fall. Wind harvesting equipment, or weed harvesting equipment, which is operating throughout the harvesting season. They all have impact, and some of the weeds that were showing up on shores could have been from weed harvesting, unless there isn't any going on Lake Beulah. None at this point. I know there is some over by us. So the town board in March 26 voted to table the wake boat discussion until January 27 to allow many of the best practices, buoys, boat inspections, boater safety training, etc., to be put in place and allow for review. I am curious as to why this topic would be revisited at this time. I've been an East Troy town resident for 37 years and live on Lake Beulah. I strongly oppose the proposal being discussed at this month's board meeting. It's extreme and unnecessary. We should monitor how the summer goes with BRB recommendations already shared with wake boat owners. Lake protection is important, but the recommendation unfairly targets one group of boaters and does not fully address responsible operation by all lake users. I just got a couple of more here. Protecting the lake, preserving water quality, promoting public safety, and respecting the interests of all lake users are the goals that most residents share. As written, the proposal treats wake boats as the primary problem. That approach is too narrow. Lake impact is not caused by one type of boat alone. It is affected by speed, ballast depth, lake bed conditions, shoreline conditions, traffic density, and similar to the other. A recommendation aimed only at wake boats oversimplifies a much more complex problem. Scientific studies should inform the discussion, but they should not be stretched beyond what they actually study or used to justify a one-size-fits-all recommendation without considering Lake Beulah's specific conditions. All boaters should be encouraged to follow Wisconsin Clean Boats, Clean Waters practices when entering and leaving the lake. That's something I've been promoting for over a year. Responsible wake boat use and lake protection are not opposites. The last thing that I saw, and I think there were 1, 2, 3, 4 more emails after I put this together. Placement of 500 feet is excessive, while at the same time current placement of slow no wake buoys is not adequate to protect some areas of concern. Focusing on boater education, more consistent placement of buoys will achieve far more than restricting specific class of boaters. So we received about 17 emails across yesterday and today. And obviously we had a public hearing in October and everything. One of the things I keep hearing people downplaying is the significance of passing an advisory resolution at the town board level. But there obviously must be some significance, or it wouldn't be so important. And drawing attention on both sides of this discussion, because I got people saying we shouldn't do it, I got people saying we have to do it. I'm not quite sure of the importance of an advisory resolution. I'm told there are no legal implications because it is not an ordinance.
That's true.
But it feels like the town is sanctioning or supporting these recommendations by passing a resolution. In fact, in here, we say in the ordinance, we are saying...
Resolution.
Not an ordinance.
I'm sorry. In the resolution, the town of East Troy
Board of Supervisors.
Yeah.
Yes.
wishes to
Recommend.
explore, right? So the recommendations are coming from the town of East Troy, not from LBMD, which is where they came from, okay? So just a point that what's the town's liability if someone gets hurt, if we arbitrarily shrink these zones, Somebody gets hurt in these zones, we haven't restricted other activity in those zones when wake boats are in there. So we've shrunk, I'm talking now.
Well, I just wanted to ask you a clarifying question, but I'll save it.
Just give me a second. Some of the issues that I know came to my mind, I've been trying to protect over the last year as I've analyzed this thing. We're restricting it to 2 zones. There's a potential for potentially 3 or 4 zones based upon the depths. By limiting it to 2, you're putting, I want to say, about 40-plus boats into about half, a little less than half the area that would be there if you had 4. So you're shrinking the area. We're putting it at 500 feet, not necessarily at 300 feet, which additionally restricts. And why is it only going through September? I'm not understanding why we're doing that. Why wouldn't it just stay in effect until it's determined an ordinance is put in place? I'm not quite sure why that's there. Why are we not restricting other activities in the wake zone? Some of the things I've heard is, okay, so we're going to push all these people into an area, and then we're going to allow people to float out there and kayak through it. And I think you're asking for public safety problems. So this is all about public safety, so I'm offering some input on considerations that should be thought about. What? Excuse me, guys. Why is the town being proposed to pay? Please, come on, people.
This dude's hovering over me, does it every day meeting. I do not, I'm looking over here.
What? Not at this point. Just cool it, guys. Why are the town board being proposed to pay for the signage? I really fundamentally question that to start with. We're sitting here looking at a sign that's going to be usable till September, and we're going to go pay for that sign when it's a pure LBMD, Lake Beulah activity. It's not a LBMD or a PLPRD. It's not a town of East Troy issue. I'm thinking the signage and maps should be coming from the LBMD group, which is a taxpayer-funded intergovernmental organization. So,
Mr. Chairman,
why are?
Beulah has already made that offer.
Wait, hey, I'm speaking, okay? We're trying to keep this under control. Why are we not proposing any specific control on Mill Lake? We're just going to say it's going to be here, so you're assuming it's not going to be over there. We've had both sides talking about Mill Lake. So there's a lot of issues that are coming out. I just think that it ought to be considered before we move forward. But that's my thoughts.
Two comments.
Clarification.
Yeah, well, I'll modify it to a comment at this point. So you mentioned a concern around an LBMD recommendation, which is now a town recommendation. I just want to highlight that that's exactly what we do with zoning issues. Planning Commission recommends to the town board, a zoning concern. The town board in turn makes a recommendation to the county. That's how that's framed in the terms of zoning, conditional uses, and variances. So I just want to highlight that as a
in an ordinance, that is the case. I don't know that's the case in a resolution. I don't know.
That's how the Plan Commission recommendations get to county resolution.
A resolution through our board here. Okay, go ahead.
And then you mentioned authority. I think I believe the town has authority to delegate regulation of lakes to management districts, but this town has chosen not to. So I think it is our responsibility under the current law to take these types of actions. I don't think that the management district could. That's my understanding.
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Ed. 2 more points. One I discussed with Supervisor Fonz regarding Mill Lake. Understanding this advisory resolution is Lake Beulah specific, how do we know that's not going to divert traffic onto Mill Lake when I think everyone is in agreement there should be no wake boats
Like Army Lake
Mill
or
Lake is part of
Potters?
Lake
or-
Beulah.
to that section of the lake?
Well,
Or Army Lake?
well, no, Mill Lake is part of Lake Beulah. You're thinking Potter Lake and.
No, I wasn't. I was thinking of the Mill Lake,
Well,
the Mill Lake Pond or whatever that's referred to, that end of the lake.
How do you think that would influence boating traffic one way or the other toward or away from Mill Lake? I think if anything, it would influence boating traffic away from Mill Lake.
Yeah, I mean, it's recommending specific zones.
It's
for-
recommending
I believe that's
one,
why I-
Away from,
Away from.
away
Mill Lake.
from it.
right.
Mill Lake isn't part of that.
My second question was, of the 17 emails that you received, did you only read off the ones that were opposing?
No, they're all opposing,
They were all opposing.
all 17.
Okay.
And I didn't read the last 4. I didn't pick anything because I just didn't have more time today.
Okay.
Yeah, one of them mentioned that focus on the conduct, not the categories, address unsafe or damaging operation by any boat, protect the sensitive areas, enforce existing no-wake rules, educate boaters, rely on Lake Beulah-specific data, and avoid adopting a one-size-fits-all restriction before the evidence has been fully reviewed. And again, lake impact is affected by speed, ballast, depth, distance from shore, lake bed conditions, shoreline conditions, traffic density, operator behavior, overall lake use. And there was one also that sent some pictures of shoreline damage, not the result of wake surfing, but the result of ice over the winter, which was a much bigger impact.
So where are we on the resolution here?
So, well, I have a couple comments. One is, Lake Beulah Management District is a independent governmental body that has done a lot of work on this. They spent money on their own study. They've identified, and that was asked for, I mean, specific to Lake Beulah.
At only 15 feet, 20 feet, and 25 feet. That's what they did. They didn't.
And the video at 20 feet.
So go ahead, just go ahead. I'm sorry.
This is consistent with the other studies that are out there, okay? So, we can debate this. We've been debating this for a year and a half.
We certainly can.
Yeah, and from the standpoint of this being looked at and researched, it was researched on Lake Beulah. We had divers down there that told us what's going on. There's video of one kneeling in 18 feet of water. He got flattened to the bottom, lift up, zebra mussels flying everywhere. We're using science to determine this.
At
Okay?
15.
Unfortunately, Lake Beulah is not a lake that has big wide open areas of deep water. That is what is needed for wake surfing. We're trying to work a compromise here and see how it works out during the summer. I mean, if it works out well for the wake surfers, fine. But if they find it doesn't work, as far as the zones, we don't have bigger areas that are 25 feet and 500 feet from shore. Those are the two biggest areas. So if we're talking about safety, everybody has to follow the safe boating laws. Okay, if there's another boat in there, you might have to wait a little bit. But I have to do that when I'm trying to boat across the lake on a Saturday and I come down to a pinch point going towards from Long Lake to Round Lake. I have to shut down because there's boats passing through a tight area. I follow the safe boating laws. Everybody's going to have to do that. So we can't make the lake bigger. And that's the dilemma that we have here. And yet, it's documented, if these boats go into shallower areas in wake enhancement boat, and it's not just wake surf boats, people put ballast bags in the back of inboard outboards and try and wake surf. And you know, it's a method of operation, it's the angle of the prop wash, and that's that transitional speed where you're not going up and playing off, you're trying to increase the biggest wake. So again, this is Lake Beulah Management District is a governmental agency. Their sole task is protecting and preserving Lake Beulah. And they're chartered by the state. State recognized that lakes deserve special protections. Under Chapter 33, they created lake management districts, and that's, you know, they've done the work, they've identified recommendations, and I think that over the last year and a half, we've had a lot of citizen input that they want some protections for this lake. And so I'm putting forth this resolution, and I'll make a motion, unless there's any other discussion, with the recommended changes, and we'll move on.
I guess the only other point of, to question is, if this is a recommendation and it is only until September 30th, what is the value being added?
I see value in creating a framework that, for residents and visitors to Lake Beulah to understand.
How our lake should be used appropriately.
Is
Yeah,
there
to
anything
guide the-
stopping the management district from making that recommendation
The
today?
management district tried, and I tried to bring forth the management district's proposal and was denied.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
My understanding is under state statute and under current town ordinance, it's our authority.
We regulate
And-
roads, we regulate land, we regulate the water in our town.
This will be beneficial for everybody to understand if this will work or not. And I think, and we'll take this up, but we have 3 lakes bigger than 50 acres on this town. And at some point, I believe the town should look at a long-term solution, and this will give us more information. You know, there's Booth Lake took action this spring. There are lakes where wake surfing isn't appropriate.
And
Or
those are
wake
referred-
enhancement.
Yeah, those are referred in here, but it doesn't say anything about the size of those lakes, so I don't know.
They're
how
varied.
appropriate-
Some of those lakes are much bigger than Lake Beulah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
And they,
some are
and they,
much
and they
smaller.
prohibited them.
Okay, Attorney Mills.
Yes, I believe the delegation to the town board in the code is for lake regulation. And this is not an ordinance, this
No.
is advisory.
Right.
So I don't think it necessarily falls on the board.
It's recommended.
I appreciate that. I think, I think it's well suited for a board action as opposed to a management district action based on my reading of the ordinance, and I think just state statute. I think it really should, it's most appropriate to come from the town board, and we already have a recommendation from the management district, so I think this is in alignment with what LBMD put forth. So that's my position here.
So any other commentary? You gonna make a motion? Did you
Yep.
make one already, or?
No.
There's a motion on.
A motion on table. Do I need to amend it? I did. I went through the amendments. Yeah.
The changes as discussed.
Okay.
And we had a second?
I'll second the amendment.
All right.
Okay, so we have a first and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. So we're moving on to 10C.
Nay.
Yeah, 3-2.
I'd like to make a note that, I guess there's gonna be some changes, right, on the ordinance. And I guess there's the statement that says now therefore be resolved that the Town of East Troy Board of Supervisors recommend, and it was not a unanimous vote.
It would,
It would be a majority of the town
All right.
supervisors.
it could be specified.
Specified, that's fine.
That's a good point. Are we on to 10C then?
Yeah.
Supervisor Church.
Okay, I attended the Protect Lake Beulah spring meeting where Deputy Chief Runge spoke about the benefit it would be to the town for there to be identifiable addresses on the ends of the piers in the event that there were emergencies. It would facilitate water patrol getting to locations faster, as well as being able to secure on-road officers to respond from the road much faster by having an address. I did have Officer Runge take a look at what I wrote. He thought it was within reason. I am not limited to street addresses, as Chief Gurecki has said. The street on the end of the pier is not as important as the address number. I do think reflectiveness so that it can be seen at night is critical, especially in a water event that happens at night. We do have night events that go on, such as the fireworks. And there have been instances where fireworks have landed on boats and boats have started on fire, and we have needed help to get to a location. And it's hard to know where you are if you are a guest or it is at night and you're unfamiliar with the exact location. So I proposed to draft an ordinance to have this, but I am open to discussion. As I said, Chief Gurecki said the street address was not as vital as just having a number on the end of the pier. And Officer Runge suggested this be done as soon as possible. I included information from other surrounding lakes that do require this, such as Delavan and the town of Lynn, I believe, does it, and the town of, the
Williams Bay.
village of Williams Bay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
the,
I-
go ahead.
Well, Mr. Rice made some comments, and he actually stole a little bit of my thunder. I was curious if you intended like a street address sign, or more like what I might put on my home, like, just stickers, or what I might put on a mailbox.
I was open to the discussion. After I had Chief Runge read this, Chief Runge did not make that suggestion. I was going off of other municipalities that I had read this on. Chief Gurecki read this after I wrote it and said, the street name is not as important as having a number. So I am willing to work with whatever is best. I just think that in the event of an emergency on the water, timing is critical, and getting the help needed to where it needs to go as fast as possible is important.
Okay, you had something?
I had something to say as well. I currently, Protect Lake Beulah in the past had given out placards for putting I just have reflective, stick-on numbers on a placard, and 8680. Cost a few bucks to buy those. And we have a water patrol on Lake Beulah, and it would sure aid them if they got a call from somebody that is in cardiac arrest at a certain residence. They can find it much quicker if they see the street number there. Now, they know where Beulah Heights is, they know where, or in Potter's Lake, they would know where, is it South Shore or Miramar, whatever that might be. And I agree, Barb, I don't think we have to put the name of the street on there. It's mainly the numbers, like when you're driving down the road and you see the.
Chief Gurecki indicated that Water Patrol has streets and the, on the road has the street addresses, and that if they had the number, they would be able to respond faster, so.
Yeah.
He said the street name was not as essential. I was working off of another municipality's recommendation and am willing to make whatever changes need to be made, but I just think that this should have been done. This is an insurance policy that protects people.
So can I offer some comments? I agree with the concept. In fact, I have numbers on my peer. The main issue for me is we have green signs that we put around, so there's consistent numbering, consistent sizes, reflective, whatever. I think if we're going to do something like this, it should be a consistent thing. It probably should be organized by the town, which is what we did, I think, with the green signs that are in front of everybody's driveway. I think numbers only are fine. I agree with that. What I didn't understand, I think we got to get very specific, because mine's on the railing of my deck and not at the very end of the pier. And if you're putting it on the pier at water level, is that as effective as I think we got to just think through. And then I think we got to have the homeowner mount it. I don't think it's something we're going to take on.
No.
So I thought if we did pass an ordinance or pursue an ordinance on this, we could attach it, find wording to attach it to the peer registrations. That way, it's more of a, the enforcement and all that falls, I suppose, to the police department. They could enforce size of the numbering, the reflective nature, create a standard for residents to follow. I don't know if we need to detail all that out. I think we could leave it to the police chief.
No, I think that's fine, but if we leave it to the individuals, it's going to be all over the map.
Yeah, so I thought you treat it kind of like, building permits, right? Where we're not detailing all of that out. It's up to the building inspector. So if the police department's reviewing peer registrations, they could review the numbering and the size or the nature of the numbering.
My thought is to go through the same process we did with the green signs.
I believe the county initiated that.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, I believe so too.
I think, obviously, it makes sense on a safety issue. I don't know if there's something that we could, and I hate pushing things off to another meeting, but if we could just give a little more clarity, I think it does probably make sense. I see Chief Brecky's back again. If we have consistent sizes and locations to advise, maybe get some feedback from the lake owners and the chief and the department on best placement and size and visibility, to give a little more direction in order to do it right the first time.
Fine.
I don't know if Chief Brecky has more to add, or
Yeah,
what the expectations were around it.
I had zero expectation. But just something that is legible, it would be helpful. And again, my life experiences have more to do with Geneva Lake, which is not Lake Beulah. And they are numbered, and it's easy to find. So you don't have to necessarily know the lake. And they do mailboats, different things out there that, obviously, if you want your mail delivered and you want it delivered to your pier, you gotta have your signing out. So, but having the signage out would be extremely helpful, just the numbers. It doesn't even need to be the name of the road, because like we should have an idea of where we're at in the world with law enforcement, so we're not completely lost. So if they send in an officer to East Shore, I should know kind of where East Shore is, and then if I have the numbers for the pier, I should be able to get there right quick and in a hurry.
So is it something we could authorize Attorney Mills to update ordinance and work with Chief Gurecki on particular language in terms of, size, lettering and things, reflective nature? I don't. You're shaking your head, I know.
Do you have thoughts on this, Attorney Mills?
No.
Are you gonna, in an ordinance, are we gonna specify the size and everything?
I think we should.
Yeah. So, Yeah.
And I do think we should tie it to peer registration, too.
yeah, but we don't, not everybody has
Every year.
a registration for the pier.
But for all new peers moving forward.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
exactly what I was going to recommend, is that we could amend the peer registration form. However, we don't get a lot of them, but it would be something that could be included as part of, getting the permit.
So if we amended the form, would that require an ordinance?
The form doesn't.
So could we do that? Would that be sufficient?
No,
I thought that's only gonna be going forward.
Yeah.
So what are we
Yeah.
gonna do with all, like, for now?
You've got hundreds and hundreds of peers out there that are
Yeah.
not,
So we kind of have to do both.
aren't even registered. Because they,
Right.
Okay.
Because they don't have to be.
right.
They were predate.
Thank you, Chief.
May I make a suggestion?
Thank you.
How about we make the ordinance, as you're all talking, with new peer registrations, but it would be advisory for those that
That's-
currently have peers. If you are having a heart attack and would like me to show up with an AED much sooner, you might want to put that number on the end of your pier, or on your canopy, or whatever, so we can get to you quicker. And just make it advisory for those that currently have peers, but then moving forward, when you get a new pier, because you want to extend it by 2 feet wider, or whatever you want to do, on the new registration has to be part of the ordinance. And that would accommodate those that currently say nope, and those that want a new pier, yeah.
It's kind of what I was
Yes, sir.
thinking.
My only thought on that is, I do believe this addresses a safety issue by putting the reflective letters at the end of a pier. If you're out there at night, piers are not all uniform. Depending on, how shallow the lake water is, you might have a 60-foot pier and then a 30-foot pier, and I think rather than having it dark, I'm assuming the boats would have lighting on them, but I think
Boats have to have lighting when.
it would assist with safety.
Yeah, I just want it standardized, because otherwise it's going to be all over the map.
Barb?
What's the motion?
Could we ask the Lake Beulah Management District to collaborate with us, maybe to get the word out so that, thank you, Mr. Jones.
We asked-
Why don't we ask
And
Potter's
PLDRD
Lake
as well.
Protection?
Yeah.
As well, I didn't
Absolutely.
see Ms. Schultz to ask. I just saw Mr. Jones sitting here, so.
I think for communication too.
For communication, that would be definite.
Well, and I don't know that we have any representative or any residents from Army Lake here as well, but I mean, I don't know how many piers there are there, but I didn't want this to be just Lake Beulah. I am concerned about safety for anybody who lives on the water, who, boats that come in from guest locations need to know where they're at.
So do we have a motion?
I make a motion to authorize Attorney Mills to draft an ordinance to require pier owners on all Town of East Troy piers to display their addresses at the end of the pier, perhaps working with Chief Gurecki to determine what would be an appropriate size and location for such. And that the address should include the house number and be reflective so information can be seen at night.
I'll second.
Okay, any other discussion?
The only thing was we talked about advisory versus required. The motion
Well,
says required.
Yeah, if I'm gonna do an ordinance, it's not going to be advisory.
Well, it would be an ordinance for
Is it
peer
required for new?
registrations going forward.
Would we also need to update the registration forms, or are we covered with the ordinance? Office?
Right.
Okay.
The clerk can change that form.
Was it
I mean,
required
I
something
think,
new? And then
to me, that's fine. It gives us, gives us time to review something well before the next boating season. LBMD, PLPRD, we could share that with them, look for input.
I'm also going to need input regarding enforcement, penalty provisions, a deadline to get it done by.
Wouldn't that just be covered under the peer permitting? Like, make it a requirement of the.
But you're not going to have peer permits for all these people.
Oh, yeah.
I don't.
But that's where it becomes a highly recommended.
Well,
I don't know how to.
I think Barb's motion encouraged you to work with Police Chief Gurecki. He could make a recommendation to
Sure.
that.
I just wanted to know if the board had any thoughts on.
I'm not as into penalizing somebody. I think it's in their best interest and the best insurance policy they can have. If they have those numbers on their peers, maybe they won't have any need for help. But if they don't have those numbers on their peers and there is an emergency, that's where they're gonna get penalized, I guess. And I hate to see that. And I'd rather be proactive than reactive.
So at this point, we have a motion to draft an ordinance to require all pier owners. That's what's on the table. okay?
Yes.
Right.
We have a second, we did?
I second.
We did.
Second. So any other discussion? The only provision my concern would be is there's got to be a definition of a source or something where to get this so that it's consistent. I hope that gets worked out. That's where I'm concerned, because it'll be all over the map otherwise.
Well, like, when you put numbers on your boat for the DNR, they're required to be, I think it's 2.5 or 3 inch, something in that, like, we could just specify a minimum size.
No, I understood. And it's got to be reflective at a certain level. I just think it all should be consistent.
All right.
Right now, we do that with the green signs. Now, I know other communities actually have purchased and implemented that policy from the town, but then added any costs onto tax bills when they did that. That's one way that it's been handled, that it was consistent. But at this point, I'll leave it to Attorney Mills and Chief Gurecki to work that out. So any other comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries.
I have a point of order. These last two motions, this one and the last one, is just a regular vote, or do we need a roll call vote for those?
For which ones?
For this motion and the previous motion?
I don't think.
Do we?
It doesn't require that.
When we
this
did
be
a roll call vote on the resolution.
recorded
Okay.
Because
what the
we
vote
didn't,
was.
and then we went through it,
All
so.
right, so we're good on that?
Yep.
Okay.
So, 10D, we have.
Was there a vote then?
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was.
Was it 5-0?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're in 10D.
The next one I have is that I am asking the board to consider possible future steps in trying to make the Jim Burns Memorial Park ADA compliant by allocating funds during the 2027 budget workshops to initiate steps towards making the park ADA compliant for all. In the proposal, I attached a quote obtained by Park Committee member Zess from MS Audit. They do park audits to determine what is necessary for us to be ADA compliant. There are different phases. We don't have to do all of them. All of the phases came to $5,305. Phase one was about $3,000. So some of the steps that they would come out and do is they'd take a look at our entire facility, Right now, we are looking at strictly the Jim Burns Memorial Park. This was triggered when we put in new playground equipment, and I believe the clock is ticking for us to make the park more accessible to all members of the community.
So is there something that, I don't understand that triggered. Is there something that's compelling us to make it more ADA compliant?
No.
The fact that we upgraded the playground equipment was by federal standards. It says new facilities, any new park, new playground, recreation facility built by a municipality must be 100% compliant with ADA standards. We do not have the money to do 100%. That would involve paving the parking lot, paving the walkways, making the bathroom more ADA accessible. Our porta potty is designed for a wheelchair, but I think actually getting into that facility is not ADA compliant, although I am not the expert. That is why you would hire a company like the MSA to come tell us exactly what we need to do in order to be compliant. I'm asking that the town board supervisors review the materials that I have in the agenda and think about when we get to the budget workshops, which I believe will start soon, that money be allocated so that we could start to make that more of a reality for everybody.
So, we have a $500,000 revenue deficit that I've been trying to get time on for most of the year. I had a lot of complaints about spending $6,500 to get Ellers in here to help do a financial management plan. I'm not understanding why we would spend $5,000 here. Secondly, my understanding of federal law is they provide recommendations for what it is to be federally compliant. There is no mandate that says a park needs to be compliant. Is that true? Or where, you were supposed to do some...
That is true, but because we updated, that subjects us to federal law requirements.
Okay.
So that's how it differs. However, I did indicate to Supervisor Church, we have money in our park impact fee account that might be able to be used rather than having to borrow.
So,
and we're going to need a study if moving forward, if we want to piecemeal the accommodations we're able to make due to cost constraints for all new development to have a different park impact fee than what we currently have. We're going to need a new study to do that.
So we don't really have like a ADA baseline right now. This would be
This
to
would
get the
give
process
us
started?
just for this park, yes.
Right.
And you're looking to just get budget for that phase one?
Yes.
So I think to your memo, the point is that this belongs on the budget workshop discussion. I don't think there's action to be taken today
There's
because
no
it's for
action to be taken.
2027.
It is just future consideration. I felt it would be inappropriate for me to drop this on you at a workshop. I felt that it was more meaningful and provided a greater mindset if I provided you with some material to think about as we go forward into the upcoming budget workshops.
Well, I appreciate that because I think for the members of the public, like we've got a lot of limits put in place on us as a board as to how we communicate with one another and share information. We really, for all practical purposes, can't without bringing it here
Correct.
in a public forum. And then that gives a public opportunity to review too and opine. And I think it's really good to do this before we're acting so that everyone has plenty of notice. They can hear some of the initial dialogue and come to a subsequent meeting and offer opinions. It's really difficult to do that when we bring new business, present it to the public on a Friday and then act on Monday, just from a process standpoint. So I think this is really helpful for myself and for the township to present the information in this manner.
Thank you.
So we'll move on to 10E then.
10E is action to allow Park Committee member Zest, myself, and DPW Superintendent to select a location for the donation of a tree and/or a perennial garden to the Jim Burns Memorial Park from the Burns family. Following the death of Deanna Burns a few weeks ago, her family walked through the Jim Burns Memorial Park and thought it would be very fitting to create something that, in Deanna's memory, they propose a crimson or sugar maple tree, a crimson rose or a sugar maple tree. But they also have discussed a perennial garden using flowers that came from Deanna's house as well as her daughter's house. And I have spoken with East Troy High School and Middle School horticulture educator Ryan Holly, and he said it would be a perfect project for his 8th grade class to come do. He loves the idea and would help facilitate creating such a perennial or butterfly garden with the donations from the Burns family. Perennials wouldn't need ongoing care, but the kids would be able to come back every fall and perhaps cultivate that garden ongoing. At least that's the thought that was discussed with Mr. Holly this week.
So then they'll maintain it effectively.
That's the plan going forward at this time. But again, it's subject to ongoing conversations with Superintendent Shield and the family.
I think it's a pretty neat way to honor the memory of Jim and Deanna and engage with a rotating cast of students in the horticulture group at the high school.
Anybody else?
I see in the packet, there's reference to there being an ordinance when all this requires would be a simple motion.
An ordinance?
No.
I didn't cite that.
On page 2.
Oh.
In the on the
Approval and posting of ordinance.
Oh, yeah.
I don't
I
think
missed
that's
that.
needed.
Oh. That's overkill on my part. I'm sorry.
I read the motion on page 1. That's
where
what I was referring to.
That's where I was at too.
Yeah, okay.
It was overkill. I'm sorry. I was.
Oh, yeah.
I'm supportive of the tree. That's pretty easy to deal with. If we've got the support to keep up a perennial garden, that's great. Otherwise, we're burdening the town with some additional ongoing maintenance. That's the only.
Why I'd like Superintendent Shield to be part of this discussion.
Very good.
So I'll make a motion to authorize Supervisor Church and Park Committee member Ken Zess and DPW Superintendent Shield the autonomy to select the locations for the placement of a donated tree and/or perennial garden in the Jim Burns Memorial Park.
I'll second.
Any other discussion?
Do we need, is that enough? Like, if they make this selection, is this enough to allow them to plant the tree and do everything?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, then I have no more discussion.
All right, no more discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. We are now at 10F through H. They're all pretty much related.
Yeah, it's a motion to authorize Supervisor Church to use East Troy Town letterhead to give the East Troy High School students thank you letters, reference letters for the collaborative park work they did for the Jim Burns Memorial Park, both in landscaping and in building the giant Adirondack chair, in keeping with the town's social media policy.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So motion carries. Thank you.
Second one is I motion that Supervisor Church be able to forward the Dear Editor letters to the East Troy Times and News publicly thanking the East Troy High School students for their efforts to build the Adirondack chair and complete landscaping improvements.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And the last one is a motion to authorize Supervisor Church the autonomy in the future to send letters to students of any range, media outlets or other involved parties in the future years without having to come before the town board for approval. This would be limited to letters of similar content as provided with examples in this packet.
Second.
The question I have is this a board like we're doing the traffic safety? Is that a board thank you, or are we just having a committee thank you? That's the only point I saw in these. And then secondly, it's all tied to pretty much thank you content. So I don't see much of an issue.
I think if it was all of us, we'd be talking about it anyways and signing something, right? Like, that would be
Well,
different.
no, I'm just saying on behalf of the board, instead of it's just.
Oh, I understand. Okay.
On behalf
I
of the board.
think I've said on behalf of the town of East Troy Park.
Okay.
If it's.
No, that's fine.
The Dear Editor is me personally, since I wrote the letter and citing that I'm the park committee chairperson.
Right. No, that's fine. So we have a first and a second. So any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. So we're on to I. So one thing that came up on this is because we've already had an appointment of Tyson Leonard, that we really should accept the resignation and then put in Carl as the citizen member. So I don't know that we can actually appoint this today we need to do both, do we not, Attorney Mills?
You do need to do both.
So-
You need to rescind the prior, that takes unanimous board approval. If there was a resignation,
Yes. you need-
I think that both of these should be on next month.
Right, both. So you got to approve the resignation or rescind.
Correct.
And then
Then appoint.
a reappoint. Okay.
So it was, Carl was highlighted, and then this is on a related note, so, the plan commission, Rich resigned, I think we
He did.
talked about that.
We did.
So, but that's still blank, so do you intend to nominate someone to fill that open spot?
At this point, they've been handling it with the alternates. I think there's been discussion, but at this point, I wasn't.
Just gonna keep it open?
Let it go, and they're rotating through the alternates. I think we have, she's not here, three or four, I think, at this point.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's formatted, plan commission's formatted a lot different. I mean, we're always gonna have a quorum, right? Plenty of alternates and things.
Correct.
My general concern with the fire district is, well, we should get to a point where we act on this pretty quickly because we're disadvantaged. that fire district, you know, we share that responsibility with other municipalities. So with an absent member, if Ty resigned, you know, by him being until we fill that, we're underrepresented, especially given that, you know, we've got these intergovernmental agreements pending there. So.
Correct. No, I agree. It's, yes, ma'am.
We do have Board of Review coming up on the 17th. We could do something at, you know, 5:45 before Board of Review begins
Oh.
at 6, if you
Okay.
wanted to schedule a special meeting.
Okay. I'm good with doing that. You want to add that to the meeting thing? We'll talk about it. But at this point, we can't act on it tonight.
So those were the only two modifications since April, was the
That's
fire
correct.
district and that blank for.
That's correct.
All right.
That's it. Yes, ma'am.
I noted under town committees, under website media IT, that we still had Sherry's name listed.
That was when this was submitted.
Right, I understand that, but I'm just calling attention that we need to change that one as well.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. Thank you.
So were the other appointments approved in April as well, or? is
Yeah,
that-
they were all approved in
Okay, all
April.
right, all right.
That was the intent.
So we were just focusing on the two, okay.
We have an update
Got
with
it.
this. That's
All
the
right.
issue. So, and I'm not sure we should talk whether this is going to be Caitlin right out of the chute or what we're going to do. We can make it all in one, but we can talk later.
Jim, do we need a motion to table that? That's never really clear to me.
Yeah, why don't you table that one to,
617, special.
617.
Make a motion to table, agenda item 9I,
10.
10I, on the updates to resolution 2026-12.
Second.
Until our special board meeting.
Second.
That's next week, right? So I need to get together on this. All right. Any other discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So motion carries. We'll do the finalization on this on June 17th, or right before June 17th, right? It's just before,
Before board of review.
right. Right. Okay, Jay, just quick, it's primarily an update, but I do need a vote from the board. I've given you a synopsis of what the multi-use trail is in the packet. What came out of the village, so the village has spearheaded this, and I think Supervisor Church has been involved in this too. They have spearheaded it. They did the original engineering of the whole thing, and then we contribute back to the village. Well, they've gone through the TAP grants this year, and they came back and they were somewhat underfunded.
Yeah.
So we weren't getting the design costs, and there was just looking at everything else and what they were willing to fund. The thought was, table it for this year, don't accept the funds, but yet leave our name in the run, so the next time we do the TAP grants, we just put our name in. We did a resolution last year?
Last year.
Last year, we did a resolution that kind of said the board is in support of trying to do this. It is becoming increasingly costly, I think, to the point where the village is even struggling a little bit with some of this, so we're going to have to keep our eye on it, but,
Do you recall the cost last year to just few $1,000s?
This tells you where it was as of last year when we approved what is.
Well, I was just, the cost to update there's a actual cost that we incurred last year, right? To update our memo of understanding or something?
No,
It was-
we paid.
We paid like
$5,000?
$5,000 for our portion of the engineering of, the potential engineering of such a trail.
The design.
The grant was not funded significantly. The village actually has another trail going in, and they need to make sure that they have funding to finish that trail, where this trail was only gonna cost us, I think when we started many years ago, about 500,000. Please don't quote me on that. I don't have the numbers in front of me, and I'm not sure I'm clear on that. But it was less than $1 million for all three municipalities to do a trail from the village of East Troy through the town of East Troy into the village of Mukwonago. And at this time, the cost of doing such a trail, while incredibly worthy of it being done, seems to be catapulting to costs that nobody can afford.
5,728,000 is for the new number here.
So with that, I get it, the village is already delayed, even if we wanted to pursue, we couldn't, right?
No,
on
I
that
would,
segment.
that's why I'm suggesting we just table it and
Yeah.
support them, but.
But I guess my question, and I don't know if there's an answer, well, so the phases, are we always gonna be on the hook? Like, if we ever get to a point where we're building out phase one, are we on the hook for a percentage?
No, not, well,
Yes.
yes.
Because my concern is like, what happens if, because that's in the village, right? I mean, I think all of phase one. What happens if village builds phase one and then they run out of money to build phase two, and it finally does get into, it directly into the town and starts to be of a direct benefit to the township?
So the trade-off, the way this was set, this was before me, so just so you understand. The trade-off was, instead of having, if you look at the 6.5 miles, most of that mileage is in the town of East Troy.
Right. Yep.
So we would excessively accept a big burden if we took it all on.
Yeah, right.
So they decided to do a third, just to promote it. So I think the trade-off is that, and then you can see the cost split evenly. I had to do the spreadsheet so I could understand.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Because I couldn't understand it before. So this was back in, if you see the date, 10/8/25, that's when we did the resolution. And so there would be a lot more detail. I can even get you more detail if you want, but.
Yeah, so maybe a future discussion, but my concern is, if, as challenging as this has been, and I like the idea, but, it starts to get more expensive, and then it's all within the town, so then it's really hard to get all these communities to be in a position to pay for all of this each year.
Everything was
Incredibly
going to
challenging.
be split by 3 municipalities, whatever got done.
Yeah.
Right.
If it was phase 1, we were all splitting 3 ways.
Right.
If it was phase 2, it was all being split 3 ways. But at the time that this started, the East Troy Electric Railroad was a player in this. And since their withdrawals, it seems that the cost of doing such a trail has blossomed.
Yep, quite a bit. So it's challenging. I think we should at least delay this year and
Yeah.
stay in the running to see what we can get next year. Maybe the TAP grant money pool is bigger. We can get some more. We seem to be,
Always on the edge.
well, but it seems like the TAP grant people like our program. It involves 3 communities, so we tend to be on their radar. I think
It was unique because it went through 3 communities in 2 counties. And
Right.
that was something that has never been done. And eventually it would have connected northbound to the Hank Aaron Trail and eventually southbound to the, is it White River? I don't have the name in front of me.
It's a
What's in?
grand plan.
Yeah, in the one that runs through Springfield to Elkhorn and Burlington, so.
So do you want me to make a motion since this is my deal?
Yes.
So I motion to pass on the Phase 1 funding TAP grant offered this year and authorize me to communicate our vote on the passing on that cost off to the village of East Troy and the village of McGuanago.
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, so now I have an activity. All right. Discussion possible action to continue the town of East Troy's involvement in next,
You lumped it all together for
I
me.
did it both.
Yep,
I'm
and the
sorry.
next one too.
Sorry.
Nope, you did it very well.
Yep.
We're on to M.
Okay.
Knocked out 3 of them.
What?
There was 3 of them in one? Was it?
2 in 1.
2 for 1.
2 in 1. A twofer.
Consider it a home run.
Action to authorize me again to communicate the board's decision. Oh, that's 3.
You did,
It's-
3 in
yeah,
1.
it's a
Yep.
threefer.
It is 3 and,
That's why it's a home run. You hit all three bases.
okay, I'm
Government
sorry.
But you just
Let it
killed it
home.
now.
It's late. So that we're on 10M, discussion possible action regarding the citizen concern pertaining to the former Lindy's property. And this is both Supervisor Church and Reyes. I think they both have memos in the packet.
Yes, so as I mentioned, and as was addressed in our public comments, we did receive a letter from one concerned citizen. Obviously, the current condition is less than desirable and an eyesore. I think we can all relate to that. However, as we have recently met regarding the road right-of-way, some of the delays have been related to the town board. I think, obviously, it took some time to get that through. And as mentioned, the current property owner, as a result, is in active negotiations to address those issues. So I think we owe them the courtesy of some time, getting all of the documentation completed and working through of that before starting the process of asking the inspector to go on site and do all that activity.
Can I offer, Vince, our inspector, did go on site, and I think he went on site with you. And they toured the building. Vince asked for specific things to be done and locked up, and so that did take place to at least establish that the perimeter is contained. So the town has taken that
Just
action.
recently, yeah. That
It
happened.
was, I want to say a couple months ago, right?
Yeah, 5 or 6 months ago, and there is a form on file that was filled out at the time that was turned in.
So I know they have looked at it. The issue on this property is setbacks. If the building gets pulled down, then setbacks are reestablished by current code. And that's going to greatly reduce the ability to develop the property. So, okay.
I'd like to hear Ms. Church's memo
Okay.
as well.
Go ahead.
I would like to know from Attorney Mills if the town assumes any liability of this, as we have citizens who have complained about this, and,
No,
Okay.
we have governmental immunity of sorts.
Okay.
I believe that the liability would fall on the landowner.
okay,
If it were determined to be some sort of attractive nuisance, that little kids would be able to hop the fence and get injured on the property. I don't see in your memo, anything about a raise order. I think that
I
should be
didn't.
off the table.
I did not.
Right.
But I believe the citizen who submitted the letter is in the audience, and she also submitted photographs of recent pictures of the property.
I do think it may be appropriate, if it were 6 or 8 months ago that the building inspector checked this out, that it be done again.
Like a seasonal type thing.
at least to seal up openings. I do know the town code does define as a public nuisance a place for vermin to habitate in, so.
So we'll put a request, we'll put a request in the
Through
Vince, well, not Vince.
Jean, the clerk,
Yeah, anyone can
can
do that.
ask the
But
inspector.
it would go to
to
Joel.
follow up.
I think the board should probably, well, it's up to the board if they want to put a motion on the table or just instruct the clerk to tell the building inspector to go inspect it again.
Just follow up.
So I'm curious, because there's a concern around blight, and we talked about, I think, Joe, you read a letter from county on that zoning violation on towing vehicle, or maybe Michelle, I'm sorry.
Yeah, autos, yeah.
So I think when it comes to like blight or vacant buildings, resident complaints of, related to those types of things, if it's a zoning issue, we really ought to refer to zoning staff. If it's something like a safety concern, we ought to, just as a matter of practice, refer residents to the building inspector and the police chief for review. I don't know to me, it feels like it doesn't necessitate a board action. And then that way, the building inspector or the police chief, if they field the complaint and they determine it requires additional action, they could bring it to the board. That's kind of how I feel about.
I think the building code might actually have that procedure outlined.
Right.
So.
I don't have it goes down, but
So I don't think we need to I don't think we need to take an
I
action.
think we just ask
could we
clerk.
invite the citizen who wrote the letter to comment?
I think it requires a unanimous vote from the board,
I'm
so.
I'd like to motion that we allow the citizen who wrote the letter and submitted the photographs to comment.
And can we add Mr. Stoss too, because he was part of the inspection?
I would second under the condition that both individuals keep it to 2 minutes
Very
or
short.
less. Just keep it brief.
Okay.
We
let-
need a
wait,
motion.
All in favor?
A second.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
I'll be very short, because I've already written this letter and everything, but besides the health hazards and the vermin, and that the children could easily climb into this building. I could have, as an old lady, easily climbed into the building. It's also just damn ugly, and I'm tired of driving by it every day, and I think that they need to move a little faster in getting it down, because it is gonna hurt my property values to have that awful looking building there. So-
And I think we've seen action with the
We've
road
seen
right of way
with the road- Is that action?
I
It
think it's
is.
coming up.
in order to get,
So-
yeah.
So, just a point of reference, in 2023, an exhibit was sent to county and told them that there's a 66-foot right-of-way which cuts through the building, okay? Totally impractical. The county, in January 15th, came back and said, that's not a valid survey. And so then it sparked more of this discussion to get the right-of-way established, so the property owner has a set amount of space to then go to county and get things done. So I want to say that going back to 23, that wasn't helpful, and that sort of delayed things, in addition to, I guess, the hotel. When was that, 22? And 22 when that was done?
No, it was,
I think it was 21.
21? Anyway, so there's been a few things that I think require some
Grace.
grace, and we can work with the inspector and get this place covered, and hopefully, I heard, and I don't want to speak out of school, but I heard there was multiple people interested in this, with this right-of-way settled. I would hope things would move quickly. John, did you have some?
Yeah, I'd like to just add a little bit. The owner of the property received a notice from the town, and they wanted to do an inspection.
And as the agent for the property, I contacted Vince, I got the letter, and I took Vince through the property. We walked the whole inside of the property, and Vince didn't see anything, a 5-alarm fire in there. He did say, I would like you to secure all the doors. So that very day, after we walked through, I went to Home Depot, purchased some hasps and some locks and everything, and I got everything secured. So there's nobody that's able to walk into the building, do whatever they want to do, set up a meth lab. You can't do anything like that. Everything's locked and secured. So there is a gaping hole in the side where the tree fell through, but you have to climb up on it. There's a big concrete barricade there. You have to climb up on that and go through it. On the inside of the building there, there's stuff piled all up on the inside of the building, because I moved it over there so nobody would come in. So it's not a free-for-all. You can't just walk into the building. You can't do whatever. I agree the property is blight. It's
Sure.
in bad repair, but the problem is that way because the lake people, the mafia, has been obstructing the development of that property.
Okay,
So we're gonna move forward, we're gonna get it developed, we're gonna get it cleaned up.
okay, thank you. So at this point,
We directed
we're
the clerk.
instructing Jean to,
I think someone should make a motion directing the clerk
all right,
to do whatever
Is
the
that what
board
we just did?
has decided upon.
I'll make a motion that we direct the clerk to contact the Police Chief Gurecki and the building inspector and inform them each of the complaint, and they can follow up as they see fit.
I'll second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So now we're on to the attorney's report.
Speaking of.
Yes,
Beach
the
Road.
only item I have is the approval of the Beach Road right-of-way agreement for that portion of Beach Road that traverses parcel number PET 9000001D. I did review the draft. I sent it to the board, and I am asking that the board approve and sign this evening. And I do have the color copy exhibits B and C that can go back to Attorney Trotowski. If he throws a recording sheet on this, I think the county will accept it.
So I'll make a motion to approve the Beach Road pavement and right-of-way agreement for the portion of Beach Road that traverses parcel PET 9000001D as presented.
Second.
Any additional discussion?
Does this end up getting recorded at the county, Jim? Or-
I think it
Trepkowski
will,
will.
it should
Or
be
they-
recorded for the county to recognize it as, the official road right-of-way
Yeah.
in that area on Beach Road.
I think
Good.
that was
And
previously, yeah.
Yeah, part of this, part of, when we talked, part of this was that we would do the agreement and then they would do the filing fee and everything, so I think we're good. Any other comments? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So we're good on that. Now we go into special and pending meetings. One of the things I put on here is this municipal emergency operations plan. We need to schedule a meeting. We got to schedule a meeting. We talked about it a couple times. So did you want to go through the meetings and then maybe we can look at calendars at the end?
Sure.
I think the other meeting that I had asked for is a budget workshop as well, as soon as possible.
Okay.
And then the Plan Commission meeting's not listed for July?
Yeah,
And the Booth Lake is not on there either on
And the-
June 17th.
ETA, ESD on June 18th, 5:30.
If you don't send me notifications,
Okay.
Okay, all right.
so,
Oh,
okay.
Booth Lake
so-
is always the third Wednesday.
Okay, that's good to know, thank you. Okay.
So, question, There's just, sorry, humor me, I'm new. Have we always done this? Do we, I mean, it's a lot to maintain, all these meetings and the agenda and things. Do we have to do this?
No, it's a courtesy.
I mean, it's a nice courtesy, it's a lot to maintain. We have the website now. I don't know. I don't know if it's entirely necessary long-term, but just my 2 cents.
I think that one thing that's beneficial for Supervisor Smith is to just bring that
To our-
specifically line item to the board's attention of meetings that are coming up that
Fair.
you do need to participate in or may want to attend. So it is kind of a nice thing. I'm just still getting a feel for all of those meetings and stuff like that. So if you have a committee meeting that you want to make sure gets on there, please send that to me in an email.
All right,
There are open meeting requirements, so
Yes, and I would need to,
it's beneficial for the public at large to know when they are without having to search
Yeah.
different places in the website, I suppose.
Yeah, I get it. I think then we all have a little homework to do going forward to make sure it's complete.
It's accurate.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
so when is the East Troy Area Emergency Services District meeting, Brian?
June 18th at 5:30.
Okay. Michelle, what time are Booth Lake meetings?
6:30.
Thank you. Okay, so if no one has any questions about what I have listed there, we've also included the 17th at 5:45 for a special board meeting.
Yep.
May
And
I
then-
ask to be excused from that one? Since I won't be at the board of review anyway.
Yeah.
We should be,
Only thing
we
would
should be
be-
okay. It's only one, it's just the appointment.
Limited
The
agenda.
resignation.
Yeah, just one item, so that's fine.
All right.
15 minutes, doesn't need to make a trip.
I can-
Okay, so emergency management.
Oh,
Yeah, we got to put a date on that.
Do we want to do something in early to mid-July? Do you want to do something sooner than that? Because then everybody can look at their calendars.
I would hope we could just couple it with another meeting, maybe, if possible, but.
This,
That's it's gonna be a lengthy one.
I would expect we're going to at least be an hour.
Yeah.
Looking through this and
Yeah.
identifying
No.
responsibilities.
Yeah, it's the first time for some of you.
Maybe we couple a potential future special meeting at that time then.
yeah, there is, yeah,
It's a
right.
big document.
Okay, we just got a review update.
It's huge.
Okay, I know, I looked through it, it's pretty
It's a
big.
book.
I mean, Chad Wales put it together, so
Yeah.
And I know that this came
he's the
up,
guy to blame if
Actually,
You
the
know,
committee,
it's too long.
Yeah.
the entire committee
County sent it.
put it together.
He had an entire committee?
Chad didn't. We kind of put it together and then appointed Chad as the
I,
contact
I,
person.
I agree with
And I
that.
edited the
I didn't see a
document.
committee that he was chairing, so when I was watching this from the floor,
and then I edited a document that we received from Town of Troy to fit ours. This came up when we were having all of those severe storms.
yes.
And we all,
Tornado
whoever I
warning
spoke
after
with was
tornado
like,
warning.
yeah, we really should figure this out, because what if a
Right.
tornado did rip through here like it did along Highway D?
Right.
So that's what really prompted this, and we are in storm season, so.
Actually, what also prompted it is FEMA said if you ever want to get FEMA grants for the county or for the municipalities within that county, you have to have this plan.
Yeah.
Well, we have it and it's approved by county.
Yeah, no,
We just
we
haven't,
never had one until we put it together.
right, a couple years ago, but we haven't reviewed it.
No.
I don't
We haven't reviewed it to
know where the
talk
command
about all those
post is,
duties and
so
stuff.
I think we need to talk, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
What about the week of the 22nd?
Let's see.
July-
June?
week of July 22nd, or?
June. I was thinking June.
June?
Because we're gonna have to start budget next month.
Yeah.
I can,
That's gonna
Hey,
be
I'm-
multiple meetings.
I look open.
I'm around.
I'm available.
I'm available.
Who? Oh, shoot, sorry.
Joe just got booked, huh?
Way to keep them on track.
Thank God you stayed to the end.
Right.
Yeah, I don't, it doesn't look like that. Oh,
What about Monday, the 29th, maintaining Mondays?
No.
No?
Do we need all 5 for this?
Right.
If one,
Well, the one that's missing will get all the assignments, that's all I can say.
The reason you'd want to have probably all the board members in attendance, they're not all named as specific players. However, they may be an alternative to a position.
Okay.
when did this expire?
It
Or
does.
become out of date?
I don't know.
Does.
Attorney Mills, you'd be the
It
one.
doesn't really, I'd have to look at it, I haven't
It's
looked at
an
it since we put it
operations
together.
plan.
Right.
It's been years.
We did it, I think, 2 years ago. I think that I first updated it in 2024.
Right.
And I do reach out to the camps and so forth. And there are a number of other organizations and people that I do need to reach out to make sure that section of contacts is updated.
Yeah.
So,
To that point,
So
should we
could-
include the police chief? Because he's
Yes.
more
Yeah.
familiar with it.
Oh, yes,
Needs to be
absolutely. The
included.
police chief needs to be included. The fire chief needs to be included.
And I don't believe Chief Gurecki was even involved when we put this together.
Nope,
Probably.
I don't think so either.
so you've got some work to do to reach out to the camps regardless, and we would want that beforehand?
No,
Like that
that's
information
No,
not
she
beforehand?
does that on a regular
If,
basis.
if we could just get an idea of a couple of dates that you guys are available, then I would be able to contact Chief Gurecki, Chief DeGaro, to then coordinate them as well.
Could
We
we,
don't need the camp's numbers or anything.
could we email you dates and then could we make a decision on the 17th?
Sure.
Could we just add that to the special meeting to finalize the date, just so we're not here all night?
You won't
looking at calendars?
finalize it, you'll give me, well,
Yeah, well,
I guess you could if you all email me dates by maybe, let me get back to June. If you all get me dates by next week, then I can reach out to Chief Gurecki and Chief DeGaro to see if any of those dates align. If none of them align, I'm gonna be reaching out to you guys again and go, okay, somebody's available this day, somebody's, we
And
have to
then-
get at least a couple common dates.
And then when we're back for,
From this one,
What'd you say?
I don't think I need to be at this one either.
No.
No,
No.
probably not. But
and
if
then
you're
we could
missing,
finalize the date on
you
the
may get
17th when
assignment.
we, yeah, okay.
You know the rules.
I don't
Okay.
even live in the area.
So actually, if we're going to finalize the date on the 17th, I would really appreciate if you could have me dates by the end of this week, so that gives me the opportunity to reach out and give Chief Gurecki and Chief DeGaro a couple of days.
So,
Can we also include potential dates for a budget workshop? Are we going to have year-to-date
Mm-hmm. Yep.
next week, or?
I'm hoping by the 22nd. I was going to address that later.
Okay.
Do you need to reach out to the consultants? Weren't they going to help you guys?
we're talking with them now.
So wouldn't they
But
have
if-
to be at your meeting or no?
No,
They would
first,
be
we
part
need
of
to
it.
see where we are, I think.
Yep.
We're in the middle of the year, we have no idea where we are, budget versus actual.
Budget workshop.
So to Jean by the 12th.
By the end of the week.
Yes.
Okay.
Early in the day, please, so I can send that email out to them.
Okay. So then, we'll go into closed session here. So the purpose of closed session is to consider compensation for the clerk treasurer Loth. I need a motion to
Make a
move.
motion to move to closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.85 sub 1 sub C to employee compensation.
We need a roll call vote.
Oh, I need a second, right?
Second first.
Second.
I think Brian just
I
seconded.
second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Reyes, aye.
Fonz, aye.
Jones, aye.
Smith, aye.
Church, aye.
We are adjourned to closed session. Okay. Oh, so I have to sign this.
Are we off here?
She has to turn it off.